What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your more phenomenal host, as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again with a brand new live episode of A-Plus Morphinominal, your weekly stop for your Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Ultraman news and reviews right here, guys, going live over on our YouTube page. So if you haven't subscribed, please do yourselves a favor, and also streaming to you guys live today over on our Facebook page, along with Twitter as well, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much. It's great to go ahead and kick off this Saturday afternoon with you guys. Always good to certainly come back and talk with you guys about more Power Ranger news. And even though it's kind of funny, the past couple of weeks, it feels as though we've had nothing to really talk about, it feels like. This week delivered us a plethora of great stuff to certainly talk about today, guys. So we're definitely going to be getting into it. We got ourselves a renewal here for Dino Fury as season 2 is set to go ahead and come back to Netflix. We finally have ourselves a premiere date revealed. We're going to talk about that. Even have an additional episode description we're going to be diving into. Mr. Simon Bennett himself came out this week and spoke about the upcoming season. So we do have a segment of Simon Says for you guys today. And then, of course, really at the top, we're going to be talking a little bit about Amy Jo Johnson. That's right. The OG herself, the Pink Ranger for MMPR, certainly has some words to definitely say in regards to the Hasbro Power Ranger reboot, guys. So we're definitely going to go ahead and get into all of it today. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly joining us. And listen, if you're in our live chat, do us a big favor, man. We always appreciate your support. Hit that like button. It definitely does go a long way. And definitely feel free to let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs. But should be a good weekend. I hope everybody's had a good week so far. Not sure what you guys have planned for this weekend. Myself, I have a meeting later on this afternoon. Tomorrow, I believe me and the girlfriend are going to be doing a couples massage, which should be pretty cool. It was a Valentine's Day gift that I got for my girlfriend, but wasn't able to schedule an appointment, unfortunately, until this weekend. So tomorrow we got ourselves a massage, which I'm really looking forward to. Maybe some Korean barbecue this weekend. We'll see. We definitely got some good stuff certainly going down this weekend. But I definitely want to know what you guys are thinking. And listen, if there definitely will be some stragglers in our live chat. So if people wind up joining late, do me a big favor. Let everybody certainly feel welcome. But I will give some shout outs to people that definitely joined us this morning. We got Enrique Perez. What's up, Enrique? Good to certainly see you in here, man. We got Blossom certainly joining us today. Johnny Marrero, as always, coming through. What's up, Johnny? Good to see you, man. Frankie in the house. We got Gabriel certainly joining us. He says, just checking in, got called into work. I work in a hospital. Well, kudos to you, man. I really appreciate all the hard work that you do, Gabriel. AJ Morphinominal. What's up, AJ? Good to see you in here, buddy, as always. Fellow A-Plusers, Izzy's in the house. Thank you very much. We got Doomsday in here. JB says, what is joining us today? We got the A Games 10 certainly coming through, saying it's a good Saturday so far. Hopefully, wherever you guys are at in the world, you're definitely enjoying yourselves. We got Datilla in the house. Marcelino Vasquez certainly coming through as always. Midwest Tokusatsu in the house also. Zachary, thank you very much for gracing us with your presence today. We got Sarav in here too. Shadow Nova Production certainly making their presence felt this morning. Adam Perea in here as well. Let's see who else we got. Jordan, what's going on, Jordan? Good to see you in here, man. And of course, we got Gabriel Rashad certainly coming through today also. Remember, just to let everybody certainly feel welcome. We may get some late stragglers to the party here, but certainly nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen. This should be a fun episode. I will say this. If you guys do have any live viewer questions, I would recommend going ahead and sending them over whenever you can. Marcelino brought this to my attention a couple of weeks ago. As our show continues to grow, we are currently over 1,000 subscribers. So thank you very much, guys, for your continued support of the channel. And listen, if you love our content, feel free to share this video, mention it to certainly your friends. Let everybody in the Power Ranger community know that they definitely have another home here with us if they certainly want to. But Marcelino, we talked about the idea of this channel continuing to grow and more people sending in their questions, right? Like right now, the rule of thumb that I have for my live viewer questions is, each person, you get 3 questions, right? 3 questions to go ahead and throw out. But today, guys, While I will get to everybody's questions, I do think going forward, we might have to change that a little bit. Because as of right now, this is just right now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We got 23 emails to certainly go through later on for our live viewer questions. And those are probably, what, 2 to 3 questions a piece. So a lot of questions, a lot of questions. So definitely have your live viewer questions. But for those of you watching, if you do have a live viewer question, guys, I know this might hurt some of you guys. One question only. One question only. So make it a good one. If you want to throw 2 questions in there and have me pick one to certainly ask, that's certainly more than fine. But going forward, as of today, when it comes to live viewer questions, feel free to submit your questions. We'll definitely get to your questions, but one question per week. And then, of course, you guys know I like to try and jump into the comment section from time to time to get some of your thoughts. But yeah, we just continue to grow. So it's not a bad thing. It's definitely a good thing here for the channel, guys. So thank you very much. But if you do have any live viewer questions, send them over anytime during the week to aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. aplusmorphinominal@gmail.com. And then again, going forward, just one question a piece. The A Games 10 says 23 emails, 24-hour stream go. Yeah, right. Like that's literally like a whole separate video of just live viewer questions to try and fit everything in. And listen, who knows? Maybe we keep the same format. But if the show is running a little bit longer, maybe I answer the rest of the questions in sort of like a companion video or a different video. But I would prefer the one question per person, certainly going forward, but we'll see how it certainly plays itself out. Who else we got in the house here? Mariba. What's up, Mariba? Thank you very much for certainly coming through today. Who else we got? I thought Edward Sanchez Productions certainly in the house. We already mentioned the A Games 10 certainly coming through. He says March is definitely going to be the month for a bunch of stuff in multiple areas of entertainment. No joke. I'm already waiting for Moon Knight, the Batman, the Halo TV series, all coming in March. We've got Don Brothers certainly dropping in March too, and the return of Dino Fury. It's going to keep us pretty busy around these parts. Koala in the house. Can't remember if I shouted you out, Doomsday, but if not, there you go again, sir. All right, and I think that's everybody for the most part. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for joining us. I've got my cup of coffee. I also got my water here, so feel free to sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. And I guess it's time to get into some news, huh? Midwest, real quick before he goes, I'm honestly more excited for the Batman than Dino Fury. To be honest, Midwest, me too. Don't tell nobody though. Listen, I'm thoroughly enthusiastic for Dino Fury, but I don't necessarily know if people know the type of hype and excitement I'm building up for myself when it comes to the Batman. I honestly do think it's going to be a cinematic masterpiece, somewhere in the lines of Joker. Hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed in the sense that it breaks $1 billion. But we'll see. Everything that I've seen in regards to that movie looks great. But we're not here to talk about the Batman. We are here to talk about Power Rangers and get into some Power Ranger news for you guys. We do have maybe one tokusatsu element towards the end before we get into your live viewer questions also. So let's go ahead and dive into this week's news, guys. So thank you very much for joining me. And let's remember, at the end of the day, these are just simply my A+ opinions. I always want to know yours, though. So as we go through articles, feel free to let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below after this video streams. And maybe I'll certainly jump in and definitely discuss some of these topics with you guys. So let's go ahead and get into this. And we will start off with the main thumbnail and the main story here this week, and that is in regards to the OG Pink Ranger herself from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Amy Jo Johnson is certainly in the news today, as this past week she wind up stepping up and putting a tweet out there in response to the Power Ranger reboot universe, clearly not too necessarily pleased with maybe the direction in which they are certainly going to go. Now, look, before I get into this topic, let me just say real quick, I do love me some Amy Jo Johnson. I'm a big fan of hers. I haven't necessarily checked out some of the stuff that she's written before. I have enjoyed her in some of the stuff that I have seen her in the past, specifically the Flashpoint series. While I wasn't like a huge enthusiast for that series, I definitely sat down and watched my fair share of episodes of Flashpoint just because of Amy Jo Johnson and the Power Ranger connection that the show certainly had to it. So outside of that, I've never met her at a convention before whatsoever. So I'm not out here to try and disrespect her or have any ill will towards her. So I've never met this woman in my life. I do know that she's just kind of recently gotten back into the swing of things when it comes to the Power Ranger fandom. I would say maybe what, like the past 5-6 years, maybe if that. So I know she has at least been out there. Whether or not it's been conventions and stuff, listen, I've heard some horror stories for some people that have definitely had the opportunity to meet her. I've also heard some great stories in regards to Amy Jo Johnson. So definitely probably a mixed bag depending on what day you find her when it comes to talking Power Rangers or anything like that related. So outside of that, I don't really know the woman personally, but I'm excited for the stuff that she creates. And I'm actually really looking forward to, she's got a Superman and Lois episode that she wind up directing for season 2 that I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how she wind up doing with Superman and Lois. Anytime you get a Power Ranger behind the screen doing some directorial work, you're definitely going to go ahead and get my attention. So any content, anything that she's certainly working on in the future. And I believe she's also writing a comic book for Boom Studios that's going to be focusing, I believe her and her boyfriend are writing a story, I believe, for the MMPR team as well. So she's definitely getting her hands involved when it comes to Power Rangers to some capacity. With that being said, this past week, she did recently come out and talk a little bit about a tweet that she wind up dropping. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for you guys so you can see exactly what Amy Jo Johnson said. She says, can I just say, I think it's really dumb if the new Power Ranger universe doesn't use or acknowledge the OGs. Just saying. Hashtag Power Rangers. Can I get an amen? Trying to really rile up the Power Ranger fan base, getting some support behind her. And trust me when I say it definitely worked. I definitely did see some fans that were, praising the queen of Power Rangers in here, right? Amen, queen, if you will. Saluting her, talking about Power Rangers can't be anything without the OGs. A lot of people were giving some support to her for sure. But there also is another segment of the Power Ranger fandom that definitely felt some type of way about this post. And if anything, you guys know what we like to do around here. We definitely like to kind of showcase both sides of the story in regards to what's happening here, and then kind of give you guys our take in regards to what's going down. So a lot of people definitely in agreement with her, in the sense that the fact of the new Power Ranger universe not using or acknowledging the OGs, some people feel a little some type of way about it. But trust me when I say there are definitely other people out there that are ready for a change, that are definitely over anything MMPR related, considering how much Hasbro truly loves MMPR. And it really is sort of their bread and butter. So Amy Jo Johnson definitely came out and said this, and as you can see, 2,600 likes, 166 quote tweets, 352 retweets. So on February 17th, Amy Jo Johnson was definitely in the news. That's not the only thing that she said, but we'll definitely go ahead and get back to it. But I will say this. One of the things that I've talked about on here, if you guys have been following the channel for quite some time, you guys know I'm a big proponent for what Hasbro is doing. I wholeheartedly support them in their idea and the direction of rebooting and reimagining Power Rangers. I do feel personally that Power Rangers after 28 years is kind of stuck in the rut, and it honestly needs some sort of newness and uniqueness to kind of be injected back into the franchise for it to really kind of gain that momentum that it needs to be put back into mainstream and be sort of recognized again, right? So in that regards, I definitely do support Hasbro in regards to pushing forward. But one of the things that I've talked about in here, because people have asked me all the time, Adam, should they completely ignore continuity? Should they completely ignore everything that certainly came before? And one of the answers that I have said quite some time is the idea that I personally would like them to acknowledge at least the OG MMPR team. 28 years of Power Rangers and continuity and several different teams over the years. That's a lot of baggage. That's a lot of continuity to try and carry over in regards to rebooting and reimagining sort of an entire universe. So I get the idea of Hasbro wanting to maybe not focus on the past so much and truly push forward. But the one thing that I would like to see is, despite there being so much baggage and continuity, I would like some sort of references at least to the classic team itself, or at least the classic series. It doesn't necessarily have to be cameos. It doesn't even necessarily have to be sort of recurring roles, right? Like, I'm not asking for it to be a big part of the show or of the brand new universe, but maybe a little Easter egg here or there, a little reference to at least the previous team, I think really would certainly go a really long way. But that's just me. And I understand the fact that there are some people that really just don't want anything MMPR certainly related to come out of this reboot and revamping of the Power Ranger universe. There definitely will always be some people that have pushback in regards to that. So going back to Amy Jo Johnson's comment here, one of the reasons that I honestly think that she put this out there is, for me at least, I listen, I've seen people say everybody has an agenda, right? And I'm sure everybody probably does to their own extent. I heard some people saying Amy Jo Johnson probably just needs a job, that maybe she just needs some money, that the OGs are trying to kind of get more involved now that Hasbro's picked it up, trying to get that opportunity to be back in the forefront, sort of thing. I'm just, I guess for me, I'm just not under the impression that that's what this tweet was certainly all about. When I think of this tweet and I see this tweet, it feels a little bit odd of Amy Jo Johnson just coming out of the blue and referencing this, right? It's not like every time Hasbro has dropped brand new information in regards to this reboot or reimagining, Amy Jo Johnson's there with a comment, right? Like, so this really did kind of come out of nowhere in regards to it. But for me, when I look at this particular tweet from her, I do think that this is something very sort of David Yost quantum continuum related. Um, we have been hearing from David Yost about the scripts that he's working on. I believe he's posted a couple of scripts in regards to it. Quantum Continuum, for those of you who don't know, is a revival series that David Yost definitely has planned. He's been talking to Hasbro. He has mentioned the idea that they have had talks in regards to possibly bringing forth a revival series for MMPR to kind of focus on where the Rangers are now that they are certainly older, if you will. But we haven't really heard too much outside of the teasing from David Yost in regards to certainly what he's working on. And so, because of the fact that I feel like we haven't had anything super recent in regards to an update, like has it been greenlit, has it been picked up, David Yost hasn't mentioned that. He just mentioned the fact that it's in talks. The fact that Amy Jo Johnson comes out and says this, can I just say it's really dumb if the new Power Ranger universe doesn't use or acknowledge the OGs? Just saying, Power Rangers, can I get an amen? To me, this just kind of feels like she heard some news from David that she maybe necessarily wasn't pleased with. And this is probably Amy Jo Johnson stepping up to support her friend. And listen, I wish I had a best friend like that, right? Like, I wish that I had somebody that would definitely throw out a tweet to certainly support my work. I kind of wish that she hashtag Quantum Continuum. But again, that's just me. This is just speculation on my part as to why she certainly put that out there. I feel like it's something that David Yost maybe explained to her. I'm kind of wondering if maybe the Quantum Continuum talks kind of fell flat. Maybe Hasbro decided not to pick up on his concept and his ideas. And because of the fact that maybe it's something that's not happening, maybe this is Amy Jo Johnson's kind of pushback in regards to Hasbro and what they're creating, because of the fact that her best friend and David Yost's content and project that he was working on maybe didn't necessarily get picked up. Again, that's the vibes that I'm kind of getting from this, because again, it's not like there's a part of me that wants to say, well, maybe Amy Jo Johnson just now discovered and realized the idea that Hasbro was trying to create something new and reimagining, even though we've known about this for quite some time, but she's now just sort of commenting on it. The timing feels weird to me. And because it feels very much left field out of Amy Jo Johnson, this is one of the reasons why I believe, if anything, it's probably connected to David Yost's quantum continuum. And what I mean by that is one of the other posts that Amy Jo Johnson tweeted out as of yesterday morning, she also says, there is always more to a story. And so this is another one of the additional reasons as to why I believe this might be in regards to quantum continuum. I have a fear. I'm hoping not, though. I'm keeping my fingers crossed because look, this is a revival series that I really kind of wanted to see. There is always more to the story, according to Amy Jo Johnson, right? I think people shouldn't necessarily just take what she said as maybe complete pushback, but I think more coming to the defense and the support of her friend David Yost here. But yeah, there's always more to the story. So maybe that story will eventually be revealed in time. Again, that's just my speculation that I certainly have in regards to it. If there is more to it, maybe one day Amy and David and Hasbro, maybe they'll eventually talk a little, talk certainly a little bit about it. So that's what we have, guys, in regards to Amy Jo Johnson. I will say this, I don't see anything wrong with her tweet personally. I think she certainly has the right to say and have her own opinion in regards to however she certainly feels about the direction of Power Rangers, as we certainly all do. I think if this is in regards to David Yost's quantum continuum, I think some of us can certainly say, hey, you know what, as a friend, that's a pretty legit thing to do, to kind of showcase your support. What I will say, though, in regards to this, to kind of shine a little bit more light on this, I guess my perspective would be, did we have to really call it a dumb idea, though? You know, Sometimes I think in the way that we word things, and I'm not saying Amy Jo Johnson's like out here trying to burn bridges with Hasbro or anything like that. But I think there has to be, like, before you hit that send button, I think you have to sometimes reread what it is that you're putting out there in the world. You know what I mean? Because while I personally believe she just put this out in support of David Yost, and his particular project, there are other ways that people will look at what you're putting out there, right? Like, it's all about perspective when it comes to some things like this. And there are people out there that feel some certain type of way about MMPR being in the limelight as much as they are. And I think there's a disconnect that Amy Jo Johnson has with the Power Ranger fandom that's really leaking into this sort of tweet of hers, right? And again, I'm not expecting every Power Ranger actor or anybody connected to the franchise to know everything that's going on with the franchise or even the fandom, right? People will come and go, people will change their trajectory in regards to what they want to focus on in life. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. But the tweet itself does feel very sort of disconnected, if you will, from the Power Ranger fandom. And what I mean by that is there is a segment of fandom that is tired of MMPR, that sees it everywhere they go when it comes to Hasbro, whether that be Lightning Collection, whether that be comic books, right? Whether that be even in the Power Ranger television series that we currently watch now, there are connections to MMPR. It's certainly everywhere, right? So to put out a comment of the idea of, isn't it dumb if the new Power Ranger universe doesn't use or acknowledge the OGs? It's a case of Hasbro acknowledges them all the time, right? All the time. And so there are some fans that are definitely tired when it comes to hearing the same thing and that constant push of MMPR sort of to the forefront once again. So I definitely get that segment of people. I will say for this, I will say that it is kind of a bad look, and what I mean by that is the sense of how do I say this without being super disrespectful? Um, I say this in the sense of like, where have you been all this time? You know, if I'm not mistaken, listen, I remember a history of Amy Jo Johnson when she wanted nothing to do with Power Rangers, right? Um, where I get it, maybe it was a sense of that worry of being typecast, of always being seen as Pink Ranger from Power Rangers and maybe not necessarily getting the roles that you want because you're typecast. It's a very real thing. I don't know her reasonings for wanting to push away from Power Rangers, if she was tired of the fandom, if if the way that she was treated by fans really kind of turned her off from kind of being involved. But I remember reading an article, I think from maybe back in 2018. I think it was 2018 or maybe it was 2016, where she mentions the idea that she had just gotten back into Power Rangers like 6 years ago. I think would be around maybe 2014 or so. She kind of made herself aware out into the Power Ranger fandom. It feels like it's very much around the same time that maybe like Austin St. John kind of came back also, right? So, Amy Jo Johnson has been away from Power Rangers for such um a long period of time, to where I almost feel like when I read this type of tweet, it kind of rubs me wrong in the sense that I don't necessarily know if Amy Jo Johnson gets to speak on this. And and granted she does. It's her own opinion. I'm not definitely trying to shut down her own opinion in regards to it. But I guess my question was, where have you been to kind of even acknowledge the existence of the Power Ranger universe, and the OGs, right? Like you come back and now all of a sudden you want to have your name out there again and be sort of recognized when for years we couldn't find you anywhere, right? And I guess for me, my thing is, if you wanted things to be so different when it comes to the Power Ranger fandom, maybe you should have played a role in it. And what I mean by that is when I look at somebody like JDF, who's been connected to the universe, he's done a ton of things for Power Ranger franchise. Trust me, people are tired of JDF too at this particular point in time, right? But JDF has a voice. His voice sort of moves the trajectory of Power Rangers from time. Maybe not so much anymore when it comes to Hasbro, right? But who's to say if like JDF and Amy Jo Johnson were certainly very active in the Power Ranger community and talked with Saban or talked with Disney and things like that in the past, if maybe we wouldn't be where we're at today, to where Hasbro now has to reboot and reimagine and reinvent Power Rangers. Um, I mean, she got a taste of a cameo in the 2017 Power Rangers, right? Everybody loved getting the opportunity to see her and certainly JDF back, and makes us wish that she was part of this fandom for the entirety of her career, sort of thing. So for you to be gone for such a long time and yet come back and then sort of call out Hasbro and telling them their idea is dumb because of the fact that you're not getting acknowledged in the Power Ranger universe, it's kind of hypocritical to me. You know what I mean? It's kind of hypocritical to me. And again, I don't see anything wrong with her tweet in the sense that she did what she had to do, right? She did as a supporting friend what anybody would certainly do. And I don't blame her for that. She has every right to certainly feel the way that she certainly does. I'm just simply pointing out the idea that it can come across a certain type of way from people that have that perspective of Amy Jo Johnson in regards to where have you been all this time, and now you feel sort of entitled to push the idea of OGs representing Power Rangers in this brand new sort of universe, when we've been asking you for years to come back and to certainly have a bigger role and the place to have some sort of impact in regards to this particular fandom. So it does come across some type of way. So I get it. I get it. But listen, I also see her side, and and that's where we're really coming around to, is the sense that for me, I kind of see her side. Do I need Hasbro to include them? No, I don't necessarily need them to, but I would be lying if I said it didn't feel a little off. I'm gonna definitely be supporting Hasbro, and I will say this too, and there is an element here, And I don't want to say Amy needs to be careful or anything like that. She can say whatever the hell that she certainly wants to. More props to her for being her own woman, whatever the case may be. We do not know. And I don't even think David Yost knows sort of the full direction in which this Hasbro project is certainly going. And what I mean by that is, listen, I've had a ton of people mention the idea of, man, I want this next Power Ranger movie to be like Endgame, or I want it to be like No Way Home, right? This huge gathering of people, this huge multiverse sort of concept and element. And I tell people all the time, you got to work towards that. You got to earn sort of that big payoff. And Power Rangers hasn't earned that big payoff in regards to live action as of yet. But what I will say to Amy Jo Johnson is, I've got hope. I've still got hope that there's time for Hasbro to certainly turn this around, and not necessarily even turn this around, but maybe include it in regards to part of their plans, right? I mean, because Power Rangers technically already takes place in a gigantic multiverse. I mean, we've seen teams crossing dimensions, right? Teaming up with people. We definitely have seen it highlighted even more the past couple of seasons of Power Rangers, that there is a big multiverse out there. So I do think that we live in a world where Hasbro can begin this reboot and reimagining, create brand new characters and brand new lore, and slowly build to a multiversal kind of event, if they will, right? If you're building already a huge cinematic universe, you got the movie, you got the TV, you got the animated series, you got the kids programming, sort of all tying into each other and having some sort of connective tissue. Who's to say that the end goal of Hasbro isn't to have a Spider-Man No Way Home moment or an end game sort of moment where you do have to bring the MMPR team back. You do have to acknowledge the OGs, whether that be a brief cameo or a recurring role to certainly bring them back, right? Like, I don't necessarily think all hope is lost. And so while I agree with her tweet in the sense that it feels a little bit weird that the OGs aren't going to be recognized, because she says to not use or even acknowledge the OGs. There's a part of me that thinks that there's still certainly time to definitely do that. So I'm not going to sit here and agree with her idea of calling it really dumb. I think she probably could have worded herself a little bit better in regards to that. Um, I do think there's time for them to definitely change course, or at least add something along those lines to where the OGs could eventually pop up if they want to. But I get the idea of Hasbro wanting to create and do something of their own first, because I do think a fresh coat of paint would really go a long way. And another reason why I say this is because of the fact that Hasbro loves MMPR as much as it does. And again, my speculation is the idea that she put this out because of the fact that maybe Quantum Continuum isn't being picked up. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping that David Yost eventually has an announcement saying, hey, guess what, guys? We wind up getting greenlit by Hasbro. I am hoping for that day. I truly am. But what I will say is, if that's the case and it's not getting picked up, I don't necessarily know if I would go out so far as say that it's a really dumb idea. I feel like if anything, I would keep my mindset open. And I think from Amy Jo Johnson's perspective, somebody that has been in front of the camera, has worked as a writer, has worked as a director also, I feel like she should know never say never. And I'm hoping, if anything, despite what this certainly may look like when it comes to Amy Jo Johnson, I do hope that certainly is more to the story and it'll eventually be explained. Because again, this is just speculation on my part. But I do hope that Hasbro and Amy and David, despite anything that might be going on behind the scenes, that they at least keep an open mind and they at least keep in contact and harbor no ill feelings towards each other. Because again, never say never. I never thought Michael Keaton would come back as Batman 40 years later or 30 years later, however long it's been. Never thought we'd see Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland in on the same scene together as Spider-Man. Never thought that I would see that in my life. So just never say never. Um, I'm trying to look at. Let me see if I had anything else in regards to this. In regards to my notes. Um, So yeah, and again, I'm not trying to badmouth Amy Jo Johnson. I definitely do respect her, and I respect her opinion to definitely go out there because it's an opinion that I personally kind of agree with, in the sense that I do want to see the OG sort of represented. But I also see Hasbro's certainly point of view of the idea of wanting to change something around. And when you haven't been active in the Power Ranger fandom, it's hard for some fans to kind of take you seriously when you haven't been by our side for such a long time. And it does come across as a money grab or an opportunity that you simply want to have for yourself. And I don't think that's what she's intending. I personally do not think that's what she's intending. Maybe some people certainly do, but it does. I can understand the fandom in regards to it sort of not sitting extremely well with them, if you will. Because trust me, I have heard some horror stories of people that have met Amy Jo Johnson, and it has not necessarily been the best experience for them. But yeah, on the other side, I've heard some great things about her as well. And again, I've never had the opportunity to meet her. I would love to meet Amy at some point in time if she comes to another convention. I don't know if she plans on being at Power Morphicon this year. You know, I don't know how interactive she plans on being with the fans, certainly going forward. But I will say this, if anything, despite people not necessarily agreeing with her, I always will push this message: treat people with respect, address them accordingly. You again, you may feel certainly some type of way, but we're all humans. We're not perfect. We are going to make mistakes. Sometimes we're going to put our foot in our mouths, right? So certainly say what you got to say, but just say it in maybe the most respectable manner that you possibly can. Because like Amy Jo Johnson, despite saying this, I don't necessarily know if she should be getting any hate towards it, right? It's just her opinion and it's just her perspective. And again, I think it's her standing up for her friend. And for me, I find that kind of admirable. But at the same time, it is kind of a bad look on our part. And I definitely acknowledge that for sure. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when it comes to Hasbro. I don't think this is gonna change Hasbro's mind in any sense of the imagination. I think they are I think they know what they're trying to accomplish. And I think they're going to be going full steam ahead as long as everything's looking good, right? As long as the scripts, everything's in play. We'll see what happens here. But I will say this, I still think that there is a chance. This feels very much like Hasbro told David, you know what? We really want to create something new. We don't necessarily really want to go backwards, which feels a little bit weird to me, considering the fact that they love MMPR as much as they do, right? Like you would think that Hasbro would milk this David Yost Quantum Continuum for everything that it certainly is. So again, that's why it's speculation, and I don't really know if that confirms Quantum Continuum's been greenlit or not. But it kind of feels like it hasn't. But I'm keeping my fingers crossed in regards to it still coming to light. But let me see what you guys are saying in regards to some of this. Um, okay, who else? Quick shout outs. I think I already said Frankie. I thought I saw Usai certainly coming through. What's up, Usai? Appreciate you coming through, man. JB says, what? Says, without MMPR, the seasons that followed wouldn't exist. Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Usai says, do they acknowledge Super Sentai? Come on with the BS. It's the brand we love, and they played a part of that, but she tried it. The OG is far from my favorite season. Let's stop being nostalgia whores. Yeah, and listen, MMPR is definitely far from my favorite season of Power Rangers. But nostalgia is a serious drug, my guy. It definitely is. It's hard to kind of push away from it. And I feel like you see it these days in television and cinema all the time of reviving and nostalgia. Um, as long as I don't mind nostalgic moments, it's as long as it's written not for that purpose. You know what I mean? If the writing is really good and you're not using it just as fan service, I'm completely cool with that. I'm completely cool with that. Moriba says it's not a big deal. There are multiple projects in development. Absolutely. I'm sure there's something MMPR related in there somewhere. Absolutely. Let's be real. They just won't be the main focus for now. And I agree with you, Moriba. I think it is one of those things that you're just not going to be the main focus for now. You know, like we've done this song and dance before. You know, we brought back the Rangers, you know, as a cameo for the 2017 movie. It flopped. Not to say that the cameos are the reason why it flopped, right? But the movie flopped at the box office. The Power Ranger movies have not done well since the very first Power Ranger movie of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the movie. Um, so I don't necessarily know if it is a key to success. But the idea of Amy Jo Johnson at least saying acknowledging the OGs, that I can understand. That I can understand. Them being forced as far as the main focus, that probably not. I that I definitely do not want. But as far as an acknowledgement, I would agree with you there. I definitely would like to see that. But I would agree with you, Moriba. They're just not the main focus for now. And I think the key is saying for now. You also say, I also got those quantum continuum vibes. I was wondering if her tweet was connected to David Yost, says Izzy. Blossom says, David, I had such a huge crush on Billy. He was awesome. His text speak was also sexy. I'm glad you liked it, Blossom. Yeah, I want to see Quantum Continuum, but I'm getting those vibes, like Moriba said, that's what this was certainly in regards to, and it doesn't necessarily give me the most confidence after seeing that. Koala says it seems like to me at least Hasbro's not interested, so they're trying to get fans to change Hasbro's mind. It certainly could be that, right? Have somebody with some um with a voice when it comes to people willing to pay attention to. um that's definitely a way to fan pressure, definitely. Gamers Force, what's up, Gamers Force? Good to see you in there. Let's see here. Adam says, just my understanding, but I think Amy was just teasing us about David Yost's MMPR reunion series. It definitely could be that also. Mariba says, I agreed. I love Amy, but I think she should be more careful with the words. That tweets caused more problems than it should have. Probably, probably. And that's what I said too, right? Was I think if anything, I think maybe just rewording before you hit that send button, I think would really go sort of a long way. But again, I think it's an example of the disconnect that there is with Amy Jo and the Power Ranger fandom. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because again, we don't expect, or at least I personally don't expect every Power Ranger actor to be that involved in the community, but it just feels a certain type of way, right? Like Blackwing says, good to see you in here, Blackwing. Thing, he says, Amy Jo can't say nothing, right? Like, where have you been, right? And I know, again, I have a feeling that her tweet was not in the was not sent out with that mindset of, for at least for me, it didn't feel like a sense of entitlement coming from her, but I can see how it would come across that way. And so the fact of sometimes, I just don't know if she's in the position to really push back like that when she hasn't been anywhere, anywhere to be found. Yusai says, I'm not a fan of Tommy's portrayal and how it's the JDF show, but I can say that man goes hard for the fandom, and you got to respect how he puts on for Power Rangers. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this would have even more weight if Amy Jo Johnson had that same sort of mentality, right? Like the idea of staying involved in the fandom. And trust me, I get it. I totally get her point of view also in the sense of worried about being typecasting. I mean, maybe the fans pushed her away, which wouldn't be a surprise. I mean, have you seen how some of the fandoms sometimes treats some of these actors and actresses and showrunners and writers at times, right? So I do get that. But again, sometimes what you say perspective wise doesn't necessarily come across as understanding as that though. Midwest says 18 years and no phone call. Where you been, Dad? And Mariba says, yeah, she did what she thought she had to do. And I can't fault her for that. It's certainly her opinion, certainly her stance. And again, I wish I had a friend that would certainly go ahead and support me and back me up like Amy Jo Johnson does when it comes to David, for sure. Jared says, I met Amy Jo Johnson at a convention. I told her I'm a writer as well, and she just looked at me. I'm sorry, Jared. I'm sorry, Jared. I feel like there are a couple of really terrible Amy Jo Johnson stories out there. Blackwing says it's kind of unfair for her to say that because really she hasn't really contributed to anything in the fandom besides a few con experiences. Plus, it was her decision to leave the show because she wanted to be known more as than just sort of the Pink Ranger. Isaiah, what's going on, Isaiah? Good to see you in here also, man. Thank you very much for joining us. Arcana Master, thank you very much. He said, look at the DCU. They look things way too fast and it kind of messed things up for their universe. I mean, yeah, they definitely did. But who's to say that they can't do something along those lines? Hopefully successfully, though. We will find out. Hasbro and Entwistle have planned next month. I certainly hope so. DHR2, what's going on, man? He says, funny how you broke it down about Amy. I mean, she wants them to acknowledge the OGs, then she would have stayed with the fandom. See, it's another one, man. Another one. I definitely agree with you to a certain extent, Common Rider. To a certain extent, DHR. Common Rider, good to see you in here, man. Nato. What's up, Nato? He says, I say it's good because you can't keep holding on to your one basically ticket to make a good movie. You need to make something new. I definitely agree. You definitely do need to make something new for sure. Gabriel says, how would you feel if Hasbro's reimagining movie or series is yet again of MMPR sort of origin story? You know, I hope it's a little bit more creative than that. Honestly, I really do. I'm kind of under the impression that there's a part of me that wants to say that while I do think it's going to be MMPR inspired, right? Like dinosaur themed, maybe same color scheme. There is a part of me that thinks that maybe it will be a brand new cast of characters, right? That we're not going to be revisiting the Kimberly, Austin, Zach, Billy, Trini type of thing. I think it might be a brand new group of characters in here, and they'll get their powers in their own sort of unique storytelling. I mean, I really do think that it's going to be a reboot and a reimagining. So I don't necessarily know if it's going to be the MMPR origin story. It would be cool if it is an origin story, though, of a brand new team that's acquiring sort of these powers, if you will. Maybe brand new villains, maybe brand new storylines. Hasbro's putting a lot of money and time and effort into Jonathan Entwistle. To be able to do that, I think says a little bit more than just rehashing an MMPR sort of origin story, at least with the same characters, right? And again, I think the fact alone that Power Rangers is already sort of taking place in a multiverse, I think if Hasbro ever wanted to dabble in the idea or build towards the idea of a multiverse or making hints that there are potentially other Power Rangers out there, it's one of the reasons why I say to Amy Jo Johnson's tweet, I get where she's coming from. There is a level of understanding, but I don't necessarily know if I would call what Hasbro is doing is dumb, because it could eventually lead, if you play your cards right, somewhere down the road for a potential appearance or a cameo or at least a reference to the Power Rangers OG MMPR team. Arcana Master. All I want is a Aqua Aquitian Ranger origin story and how they met Ninjor. That would be awesome. Let's see here. Daniel, what's up, Daniel? He says, "What's up, A plus? The OG Pink Ranger will always be my favorite Pink Ranger and my favorite Ranger crush." And I'm sure to many, I'm sure to many, Daniel, for sure. Appreciate the support, man. Thank you. He says, "Waiting for that day when Amy Jo Johnson's mentoring a new Ranger team. That would be something to see, to certainly say the least." We got Chris. What's up, Chris? He says, "I pray that the Red Ranger is a male in this new reboot movie." We'll see. We'll see, Chris. They may be moving on. Trent, he says, "Amy is the new JDF. She thought she ate that up. She just wants a big payday. She is pretty. We don't need her." Oh, she is petty. We don't need her. The reboot is supposed to be for a new, broader audience. What does she bring to the new universe? Nothing. Man, Trent, shots fired, bro. Shots fired. Look, and I agree to the sense of Hasbro has earned, and when I say has earned, by popping $512 million into Power Rangers, they have certainly earned the right to definitely take this franchise in the trajectory that they certainly want to. I personally don't think that her agenda is for a big payday, as some people certainly think. I think there's more to the story, like she mentions in her tweet, than just simply that. But hey, you certainly whatever you want, Trent. But yeah, I mean, my thing is, while I don't necessarily see it improving or bringing too much new to the universe, there is a part of me that feels like, because of the fact that you have a fandom that spreads over the past 28 years, something as minuscule as acknowledging a previous MMPR OG team doesn't feel like it's that much to ask for. Because I do think you do need a balance of not only bringing in the new broader audience, and I think that's definitely what Hasbro is recognizing and wanting to push forward. I also think there should be at least some connective tissues to those that have invested so much time and energy over the years for Power Rangers. Again, maybe this feels more like Amy's tweet is saying they want to be more the focus and sort of the forefront. I mean, she's just saying, let me go ahead and pull this back up, right? Um, it's really dumb if the new Power Rangers universe doesn't use or acknowledge the OGs. Use, I don't need them to be used. Acknowledge, I'm all on board with that. I'm all on board with the acknowledgement. I think there's something vastly different between those two, though. You know what I mean? Pokey fan. He says, even without the original Rangers being involved, MMPR have been mentioned a ton. Lord Zed was brought back in Dino Fury just because it was a Dino season and for nostalgic reasons. Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely agree with you there, Pokey fan. Gabriel, he says, you hit the nail on the head with something, Adam, which I was saying already. Saban and Hasbro has been acknowledging the OGs for a long time now. I'm excited for something new. Yeah, and they certainly have, right? They brought back Austin St. John. We've had cameos before in the past. JDF has blasted our screens for I don't know how many years, sort of thing. Um, it's just a disconnect. Nothing wrong with coming out and supporting your friend, but also I think you have to recognize the way that the fandom is also going to take it. And um they've been acknowledging the OGs for quite some time and trying to get people back for quite some time. And a lot of people haven't wanted to return for their own particular reason, and that's fine. But when you've had 28 years to be a part of something and now you're not, um, it does come across a certain type of way for sure. AJ, he says MMPR already had a major focus, which was 2017. We want more from seasons that followed. Now that, AJ, I definitely don't think is going to happen. Like, I definitely don't think that's going to happen. It would be cool, and I do think a lot of people would certainly absolutely love that. But it is one of those things that it's just such a so much baggage when it comes to Power Rangers, that I do feel like anything after MMPR related, I personally do think will be forgotten. That's just me. That's just me. That's why there's a part of me that is holding on to the idea of, please acknowledge the OGs, at least acknowledge what came before, because of the fact that it is still prevalent, as big as it is in pop culture these days. You know what I mean? And I think if there is any group of Power Rangers that I think will continue to get acknowledged in some way, shape, or form through Hasbro, it probably will be the MMPR team. And look, Amy Jo Johnson's also writing for Boom Studios Comics. I believe it's her and her boyfriend are doing an MMPR season. MMPR, I don't know if it's a one shot or a comic series or whatever the case may be, but I know they're going to be focused on the Rangers later in their day, and maybe later in their time, and maybe that's what Hasbro rather keep that team instead of doing anything live action related. I personally think it's a mistake. I definitely would like to see live action MMPR revival series. I definitely want to see what David Yost is certainly creating, but I'm not going to say it's completely out of the works, right? Like, I'm really hoping that it certainly still happens. What's up, Emmanuel? Good to see you in here. He says Amy Jo may be an OG, but she better stop talking unless she has seen the show's current state of form and opinion on Hasbro's competence. And that's one of the things too, is like, I don't know how much Amy or even David know of Hasbro's potential plans, right? Like, maybe they just know the idea of, it's something that we don't want to focus on right now, so we're going to move on from this concept of quantum continuum and maybe a revival, and focus on what we're trying to create and build. MMPR is going to be focused on Boom Studios comics by Amy Jo Johnson, so we're cool with that. But as far as live action, we just want to kind of create what we want to create. And maybe they have a whole plan. And who, again, like I said, who knows? That's why the idea of calling something really dumb seems a little too quick of a trigger until you actually see it played out, because maybe it playing out leads to you getting that cameo, right? And if you're calling their idea dumb, it's like, well, I don't know, Amy, should we bring you back? I mean, you weren't on board with what we were trying to create before, but I get the idea. I get it. It's just a mess, man. It's a mess, guys. Cobra Edis, what's up, Cobra? Good to see you in here. Do you think, DHR2 says, do you think they will borrow some elements from the Go-Go Power Ranger comics for the reboot? That can be a good idea. Who knows, man? It's definitely a possibility. It depends on where Jonathan Entwistle wants to really grab his influences from. I'm not really quite sure. Arcana says, I think the issue with Power Rangers is that the general public, for most people, is that they know only the brand, just as MMPR. And it's absolutely right, Arcana. I mean, you ask the general audience, nobody knows who Mystic Force is unless you're a diehard Power Ranger fan, right? When you go up to somebody in the streets and you just ask them a random Power Ranger question, I bet they probably recognize MMPR over anything else. So I definitely get the influence that MMPR certainly has. And again, it's another reason why it's hard for me to imagine Hasbro not wanting to pick up David Yost's revival series, because it is sort of their bread and butter and most people will recognize it. And again, who knows? This is just speculation on my part based off of Amy's tweets. She did mention there's always more to the story. And there probably certainly is, right? Some things that we're just speculating on that we don't really have any idea about. So who knows? Again, I am keeping my fingers crossed that Quantum Continuum does happen. I will always continue to certainly give it its support and retweet and whatever else I certainly need to when it comes to the fandom and for David Yost and them. But when I read this, it just feels like she's upset at the idea that Hasbro doesn't want to necessarily acknowledge them or use them. And so when I think of that, I think, ooh, maybe something didn't go too well with David Yost's pitch, or they decided eventually not to pick it up. So we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully more information will surface. Again, we still have a ton of questions in regards to what the future of Power Rangers is going to hold. But once we get some more information and details, we'll definitely go ahead and share it with you. So guys, listen, I want to know your thoughts in regards to this. If you want to let your thoughts be known after this video airs in the comment section. What do you think about Amy Jo Johnson's comments? Do you think that they were in support of David Yost and his Quantum Continuum because it's not picked up, or maybe it is being picked up? Do you find these tweets petty, or that she doesn't have a leg to stand on based off of her not being a part of the Ranger community? Again, I don't have a problem with her tweet. There are, the idea of calling it really dumb just does kind of hit me a wrong way. I do kind of see the hypocrisy in it just a little bit, but I feel the intention was probably to support David Yost, and for that, I probably can't be mad at her for sure, especially her just voicing her own opinion. But I think if anything, I think it was important to at least point out both views and to kind of see where it could potentially land. So we'll see what the future of Hasbro and Amy Jo Johnson and David Yost certainly is when it comes to Power Rangers going forward, guys. But yeah, let your thoughts be known. Finally, on to the next story. Yeah, absolutely. The A Games 10 for sure, because we milked that for all it's worth. But don't worry. If anything, I will probably go ahead and put some timestamps on there for you guys. Definitely, if you ever do come back to the video, to be able to easily jump through it and navigate. All right, guys. The next topic will very much be Dino Fury related, ladies and gentlemen. And listen, I'm super pumped for this because we officially have ourselves a release date for Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 on Netflix, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so incredibly happy. March 3rd, guys, is going to be the big day. Last week we talked about the idea of was it Canada on Teletoon getting the opportunity to see Power Rangers Dino Fury first. We have been talking about a couple of the episode descriptions that had been leaked to be aired over on Teletoon. And we were feeling some type of way, right? Like, I think we were under the impression, like, wait a minute. I thought the purpose of Power Rangers going to Netflix was, well, maybe not the full purpose, but one of the benefits was the lack of international spoilers. And we're like, wait a minute, they haven't announced anything here for the US. Yet Canada's getting it on March 5th or whatever the case may be. And one of the things that we mentioned was, let's sit back and wait and see if Netflix decides to kind of make any announcements, right? Because it's like, what, 2.5 weeks away, at least at the time that we talked about this, from actually dropping. So that still feels like a significant amount of time to be able to throw out a release or a tease that something's coming. And lo and behold, here we are, guys. It's almost like Netflix watched our episode and was like, you know what? Maybe we should finally drop an announcement somewhere so these people don't go freaking out. But Power Rangers Dino Fury is back, guys. March 3rd, we will, in fact, be getting the first part of Dino Fury Season 2. Let's go ahead and dive into this because I want to say this was originally revealed to us. I want to say this was an exclusive from Screen Rant. Power Rangers Season 2 release date, intro, and cast revealed. It says Season 2 of Dino Fury will debut exclusively on Netflix in the US starting spring of 2022 with new characters and a new intro sequence. The Power Rangers will make a more phenomenal return with Season 2 of Dino Fury, which will debut on March 3rd, while it will premiere on Teletoon in Canada on March 5th. With villains new and old gathering against them, the Power Rangers are destined to face their greatest challenges yet in the latest installment of this series. Screen Rant has confirmed today that the second season of Dino Fury will premiere starting spring. The first half of these season 2 debuts March 3rd, with the back half later to release. And they did go ahead and actually put up a brand new. This is the new intro, by the way, which, mind you, first off, I love how they come in. And I love this shot here, too, of Zato on this rooftop right here. And I believe Simon Bennett even mentioned it was like a practical effect or something. I've heard some people have some pushback on the split screen here between the people. I kind of don't mind it. But maybe that's just me. I kind of don't mind it. Especially with like the half of the faces kind of coming through. I don't know why I get like, I was going to say Morphine Masters vibes, but I'm thinking more like Emissary vibes for some reason. Oh, more Void Knight. Oh, great shot of Amelia. Okay, and this is where they hit us with a bunch of images real quick. Let's see if we can do some. Ooh. Ooh. First off, this is the shot that I always really was always a big fan of here. Fucking Void Knight just looking like he's been ripped out of the 80s, like a 80s rock star band. I'm loving the sleeveless shirt or jacket or whatever the case may be. It looks like he's got a vest on. Loving the chain around his soldier. His shoulder also. I don't know when I don't know if this is a flashback moment of him. I don't know if this is a current state of Void Knight sort of thing. But I really do love his costume design in this one particular scene. Who knows? Maybe we only see him in this like briefly, but this is a badass costume design for Void Knight outside of his actual costume itself. There's Centaura again. We get to see one of the brand new villains that are going to be highlighted in here, who played an integral role, at least when it comes to a real soldier, especially with his identity being revealed. So I'm going to be curious to see how they adapt this particular storyline here. But that's just the new intro, guys. Like that's just the new intro that we're going to be getting. I'm still kind of surprised that we don't have a Jane and Jayborg. Maybe even like a clip of like Void Knight's actor name. I mean, considering the fact of how much of a role he's kind of playing. I feel like those are like the other three characters that I felt like probably should have gotten some shine in regards to that new opening sequence. It also says the new season will feature new characters and cast, new weapons, new Zords, new vehicles, including the Dino Fury cycle, a T-Rex inspired motorcycle with blasters. It says season 1 introduced us to a brand new team of Power Rangers fueled by prehistoric power of the dinosaurs and recruited to deal with the threat of an army of alien beings. The series will pick up right where season 1 left off, with the fate of Void Knight and Centaura revealed. So boom, both of them are going to be highly involved right off the bat. Evil forces and influential villains will continue to disrupt the Dino Fury Rangers. Season 2 will also see Zato and Ion discovering more about Ravcon, their home planet, which I'm really excited about, right? Like we even saw Zato asking one of the Morphing Masters at the end, do you have any word about my people? What's going on with Ravcon? Before the Morphing Master left. The development of new and existing relationships. Ooh, okay. And the introduction of never before seen characters. Fans can look forward to the reveals of exciting new power-ups, including new Dino boost keys. All right, guys. So that's what Screen Rant wound up actually putting together. So I am excited to kind of see what brand new characters we're going to be getting. if anything, the new and existing relationships continuing to brew. I'm wondering if this is like a lifeline to the idea of my Amelia and Ali shipping. I feel like that's something that is about to form when it comes to season 2. I feel like they've put hints throughout season 1. A lot of people may not necessarily be on my side in regards to it, but I definitely want to see it. Want to see it. Who else we got? We got Jinsaku in the house. What's up, Jinsaku? Good to certainly see you around here, man. Thank you very much. So I'm excited for this, guys. So mark your calendars, March 3rd. We've been talking about how this season was going to be released. I know a lot of people were talking about the idea of they prefer it being dropped all at once. Even last week, we personally talked about the idea that if I had to make a guess or figure out how Dino Fury season 2 was going to be released, I mentioned the idea that I thought season 1 coming to Netflix was the prototype, was exactly how it was going to go ahead and do it, and that's how they're going to go ahead and do it again, delivering it in parts. I'm assuming, if anything, episodes 1 through 11 will drop March 3rd. And then if anything, when it comes to reviews for it, I probably will do reviews similar to how we wind up doing last time. Once Netflix dropped all of the second half of season 1, we did 1 episode a week. I'm probably going to do that here also going forward for season 2. It worked out actually relatively well, and it gave us something to continue to talk about, continue our hype level for Dino Fury. I probably will sit down and binge the show themselves and then continue each week to go ahead and review it. Or who knows, maybe I'll wait to maybe I'll personally wait week after week to go ahead and watch a brand new episode. That might be torture, but it worked out last time for our channel, so I probably will continue to do that again. But that's not the only thing that we wind up getting when it comes to Power Rangers Dino Fury. So kudos to Screen Rant for giving us that exclusive reveal in regards to when it was coming back. But the official reveal, an additional trailer, actually came to us from the Power Ranger Twitter page as well. This is Power Rangers, the verified Twitter page. Dino Fury is back. Are the Power Rangers ready to face their biggest challenges yet? Find out on Netflix. May the power protect you. Is this the trailer? Wait, did they give us a trailer? Or is this the same thing? This might be the same thing we just literally watched. Oh, this is the same thing we literally just watched. Okay, so it's not a new trailer. So if anything, we'll really watch this again. Hasbro, don't at me, bro. Don't copyright strike me. I'm just trying to promote your show, please. I don't know why I thought that there was like an actual trailer. They teased me. Is there a trailer though? I don't know why I thought that there was a trailer outside of that though. What's up, Byron? Good to certainly see you in here. He says, I am the biggest fanboy of Dino Fury. I'm proud. I'm glad you like it. Glad you like it. Edward Sanchez Production says the new intro is coolio. I definitely agree with you. I'm a big fan. Isaiah says, are you excited for Power Rangers Dino Fury Season 2 going to be appearing on Netflix in March? I am. You know, one of the things that I talked about, I have mentioned the idea that I thought that they would wait for Season 2 to drop in like April or so. But hey, I'm a big fan of them dropping it sooner for sure. AJ says, please binge this show so I can talk about it. Season 1 was torture to stay quiet. There is a minute and 26-second trailer. Yeah, that's what I thought. What's up, Mickey? Good to see you. I think I pulled up the wrong one. Let me see if I can try and find it real quick. Hold on a second. I thought I pulled it up when I pulled that one up, but I guess I was wrong. Yes. Okay, this is the one that I did see. I was like, I'm pretty sure I thought I saw a trailer. So you know what? Rangerboard.com, you get the shine this week. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Good old Ranger Board. Okay, thank you, Jinsaki. He says he's going to tag me in a tweet. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Entire screen, chroma. All right, Ranger Board, you are the lucky ones here. So let's go ahead and dive into this, shall we?
There's trouble in the city.
Here we go. There's trouble in the city. It's morphin' time. And to be fair, to be honest with you guys, I've only watched this trailer once, so it'll be fun for me to be able to actually go back and rewatch this a little bit. Weisel and Mucus back. I thought I saw Wreckmate in there briefly too. Ooh, I love that. I love that. Those boost key powers. Look at that. Looking great. Ooh, Void Knight's back, baby.
Void Knight. These sports are mine. Yes, yes. I finally have enough sports to charge my machine.
I will say this. It is interesting to me watching this that, you know, Void Knight is now, he's back, and his main idea is, I got to get these Sporks. Like, wasn't that the plan in season 1? Like, it was one of those things where it's like, why did you stop doing what you were doing originally, right? Like, I guess something else came up, so we clearly saw him decide to make a change of course. That quickly went out the window. So maybe it feels like Void Knight's deciding, I probably should have stuck to my plan. I probably should have stuck to my original plan.
I finally have enough sports to charge my machine. Full power. Awaken my love. It's time.
And I'm assuming, is that one of her forms? Because she's, that looks like some shit that Santora gets to turn into. So yeah, we're definitely gonna get some Void Knight Santora stuff. I'm curious as to like how quickly they're gonna jump onto the scene and start really making an impact.
Your ultra sword is in pieces. You will be.
Yeah, look, she's even talking in that form. So there's a part of me that wonders if she goes from the form that we see her in. I got to think that she goes from the form that we see her in the tube to where we see her at the end of this. And then maybe this is her full transformation in here.
Our Megazords don't stand a chance.
To beat her, we'll need something new.
New Zords is that pterodactyl, the kangaroo, or the whatever it's called. Oh, I loving this boost here. Is that, I don't think that's the Excalibur, but definitely a bunch of boost keys. Ooh, got that armor. Dino Knight armor. There's Precious from Real Soldier. I'm kind of curious as to, I'm assuming maybe he's his own villain this time around. Ooh, a Dino Cycle. And there's Madame Noir, baby. Void Queen, huh? Yeah, I'm assuming we'll have Void Knight. I'm assuming Santora will then, I'm assuming, turn into Void Queen, which is what we talked about, I think, plenty of times.
I am Void Queen.
Which we've talked about before in regards to some of the behind the scenes moments that Simon Bennett went ahead and posted on his IG. We brought up the idea of a costume in the background, and we've talked about it several occasions. So I'm assuming, if anything, Madame Noir's form is that of Santora. Whether or not she turns into Eris, that's what Adam is certainly talking about. I am kind of curious, you know, whether or not she's going to be the end villain also in regards to Eris. That we'll definitely have to see. But I do love the idea that they decided to go ahead and reutilize this costume from ToQger and including it somehow in Dino Fury. So kudos to them. But Madame Noir is here from ToQger as Void Queen. Perfect, if you ask me. Now, I also want to look at this other sequence here too, because in this last shot, there are some people wondering if this is Void Knight in his purple armor or if this is the brown Real Soldier at the very end here, as we see Madame Noir's character pop up here. Now my thing doesn't want to work. Here we go. If you look at his armor right here to the left, his arm, some people are wondering whether or not that's lighting or if that's actually brown armor. And you know, oh, can I pause this just as he, you know what? Guys, I think that's just lighting. I think that's lighting. I think that's Void Knight in his armor, but I think that's just the lighting of the scene that's making it look brown when I look at it again over and over. But I'm kind of curious. I don't know. Maybe you guys think differently. Maybe you guys think that is actually the brown. I used to call it the bronze Knight, but I feel like that's lighting. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be wrong, for sure. But I definitely want to know what you guys think. But the trailer looks great, man. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it definitely hits everything that you wanted to. AJ says, I think the brown real soldier suit is Void Knight during the backstory. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. You definitely think it's the real soul brown. It's clearly brown, not purple. Saw this many times since the trailer came out. And yeah, it was purple for a second. When I look at it, because his armor, when I look at it, his arms are usually silver, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, man, that's hard. That's hard. I don't know. Because I think this is almost the because I think that that particular scene in the trailer, I think that's the moment when we see him take off his helmet out of his Void Knight costume, watching Santora's power start charging. And I think she goes from that out into the teleporting into her presenting herself as Void Queen. And it's maybe the lighting on Void Knight's armor that's making it look brown. I could be wrong. You guys definitely have your own opinions in regards to it. But we'll see how it turns out when it actually happens. But it's looking good, man. Looking really good. I think the trailer did everything that it needed to do. Definitely got me hyped by bringing back the Burt Selling track. Great composition. Great glimpses in regards to brand new villains, especially the new Zord combinations that we're going to be getting. This season is going to be hella fun, honestly, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how season 2 is going to drop. But mark your calendars, guys. March 3rd, it'll certainly be here. Let me pull up my own calendar real quick just to kind of see how far away we are. So what was that? March 3rd? That's going to be a Thursday that they drop on. So we're talking about just a little bit over a week and a half away. It'll be here before we know it, guys. So I'm pumped for it. I cannot wait for this series to come back, and I think they've got a lot in store for us. The next topic, guys, that we're going to be diving into today will in fact be episode descriptions when it comes to Dino Fury, guys. That's right. Dino Fury continues to give us a glimpse into the future in regards to what we could possibly expect. We already did the episode descriptions for episodes 1 and 2. The first one, I believe, focusing on Amelia, along with the possible return of Void Knight, or at least her questioning whether or not Void Knight is truly gone or not. And just based off of the brief synopsis that we read over on Screen Rant, Void Knight and Santora, while they're fate was definitely in question at the end of season 1, they definitely will still continue to have a big presence, certainly going forward. So really looking forward to that. Episode 2 felt like a little bit of a filler-ish, if you will, but again, we can't really trust these episode descriptions fully. But I did want to go ahead and bring your guys' attention to the 3rd episode of this season, which, if I'm not mistaken, is titled Missing. No, not the title isn't missing, but it is missing, if you guys catch my drift. This is from the A Games 10. The 3rd episode of season 2 is titled Missing. And it says, Slither places a magical spell on the Rangers, removing their recent memories and replacing them with false ones. That should be pretty interesting, honestly. Places a magical spell on the Rangers, removing their recent memories and replacing them with false ones. I am kind of curious what these false memories are going to be, and also how many Rangers are going to be affected by this. This really could have a lot of impactful moments in here. Placing them with false ones, I mean, just based off of, some of our characters' lives. Like, what if one of the false memories is Amelia's parents are still alive, right? Maybe the idea of her forgetting that they were no longer around, and we get to meet Amelia's parents in this episode, for all we know. That would be kind of tragic, though, right? To find out that your parents are alive and realizing it's just a false memory and it eventually kind of goes away. That would kind of fucking suck. That might be a little bit too dreary or too dreadful for a Power Ranger episode. But I think it could put some characters into really interesting positions. Maybe the Rafcon stuff, right? Maybe Zato and Ion have false memories and kind of see what happened to their home planet quite differently from each other, right? Like, I do think the idea of removing recent memories and replacing them with false ones could have some pretty interesting implications kind of going forward in regards to especially for specific characters. So I am actually really intrigued in episode number 3 of this upcoming season, and I kind of dig the title too in regards to Missing. It feels very ominous. And again, so if that's their attempt to try and make that episode description as boring or not reveal too much of anything, I think they did a really great job. But at the same time, it definitely has my intrigue. Because anytime you start dealing with somebody's memories, I feel like there's a lot of stuff you can easily play with in that. So that might be an episode that really grabs my attention. So far, episodes 1 and 3, I'm really going to be looking very forward to. But guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you guys expect from episode number 3? Reading that episode description alone, what are some of the things that you are possibly taking away from that? The A Game says this is basically Beast Morphers rewriting history 2.0. Possible. It would be interesting to see if they have a different take on that, though, for sure. Let's see here. So Rob says Brian Goldner passed away post the season's completion, right? Yes. As far as like filming being wrapped, yes. All of that, everything was written and filmed before his passing. If anything, I believe post-production for the series was probably still taking place during the time of Brian Goldner's passing. So editing it, special effects, putting it together, scoring it, that type of stuff. The A Games 10, yes, I definitely saw the pun that you definitely did there. It was great. It was great. All right, guys. And with that topic out of the way, we will move on to our next topic. And this is usually a really fun topic. I always love that anytime we get the opportunity to do a Simon Says topic, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. Simon Says is back. What's up, Simon Bennett? Good to see you. Bro, I feel like I haven't seen you in months around here. I don't know if you've been quarantining yourself from Twitter, keeping a low profile or whatever the case may be, enjoying your life. Kudos to you, my guy. But Simon, it's always good to have you back, man. High five? No? All right, next time. COVID. I get it. I get it. I get it. But look, Simon Bennett is back in the news again. Marketing, the push for Dino Fury has in fact returned. We got a lot of the actors out there retweeting this trailer, getting pumped up for its return. And trust me when I say Simon Bennett is definitely in that grouping category, ready to go ahead and dish out some really juicy intel in regards to really what went into putting together season 2 for Dino Fury. So let's go ahead and figure out exactly what the hell is Simon Bennett talking about these days, guys. Let's go ahead and dive into this, ladies and gentlemen, for our Simon Says portion of the show. We'll go ahead and bring up some of his recent tweets here. So they went ahead and revealed the trailer or the opening sequence, which, mind you, again, that Zato crossing over the rooftop of the building. Sweet. One of the coolest shots I've seen them do all season long. But Simon Bennett, in his retweeting of it, says, "Can't wait to share what we've been working on." There's a Twitter handle, Double Danger, that says, Can you comment a bit on the tone of season 2? Was there any more freedom in terms of being developed for streaming?" And so it says, it was written the same time as season 1. There were no different requirements or expectation from a writing and production viewpoint. Season 1 and season 2 were sort of one big thing. He says Dino Fury was originally written as a 22 episode season. Then when it became 44, additional episodes were written to fill in the gaps or plug the gaps, while the overall structure across the season sort of remained the same. And he even goes so far to say, so if a few episodes seem like filler episodes, that means that's because they certainly are. And so, I do find this really interesting, hearing this perspective from Simon Bennett. I can't lie. For me, hearing him say that Dino Fury was originally written as a 22 episode season makes me now want to see Power Rangers in just a 122 episode season. Like, there is a part of me that wants to see one entire season of Power Rangers take place in 22 episodes instead of it being stretched out for 44. For me, I'm assuming, if anything, if you guys do recall, one of the things that's going around is the idea that if you might recall, I think maybe in Ninja Steel, or maybe just before we got into Ninja Steel, we were trying to figure out how far out the contract with Power Rangers and Nickelodeon certainly was, right? And when we got into Dino Fury, we were under the impression that Nickelodeon was only going to have Dino Fury for one season, right? Because the contract was supposed to be up come 2021. So we were very much under the impression that it was only going to be maybe 22 episodes, or at least a one season. We're just trying to figure out how this was going to unfold. So the fact that Simon Bennett is saying that Dino Force was originally written as 22 episode season, two things come to mind here. One, I do wonder if other seasons have been written as a 22 episode season, and the idea of it getting picked up for an additional season made them, as he says, have to write to kind of plug in the gaps. I am wondering if that's something that has happened in previous seasons also, that they were maybe just trying to milk Power Rangers or that season and that cast for more. Because I kind of like the idea of a 22 episode season. That to me feels very much like you have a story that you want to tell, and you can kind of tell it outright without having to fill the gaps, if you will. Whereas if you tell me Netflix decided to maybe pick it up for an additional season, which I don't know if that's the case, to be like, hey, we want one more season over on Netflix, then the idea of having to introduce 22 more episodes where some feel like filler and others do feel like connective tissues, some more important than others. Like I think when we watch a show, we can really tell, oh, this was a really impactful episode. Oh, this was a really meaningful one in regards to pushing the storyline and the narrative of it certainly forward. They definitely do come sometimes far in between of each other. And so the idea of it being written as 22 episodes, I kind of like that idea. It tells me that storytelling, it's tight, it's concise. You're telling the story that you want to tell, but the idea of it being picked up for additional episodes is really what kind of dilutes the series. Um, and for me, it's one of those things too. You know, when I go back and I look at shows like CW, you know, the Arrowverse, and you look at like the Flash, and you look at Supergirl, or Batwoman, Arrow, and things like that. You know, starting off, a lot of those series were 22 episode seasons, and an hour long, also, if you will. But they usually wrap up within that sort of time period. You know, this is the same sort of thing when I look at like a Black Lightning that kind of came out of nowhere and started doing like 15 episodes, right? We had less filler and more focus on story and characters. So the idea of seeing Dino Fury, like if you're telling me Dino Fury has been watered down in order for it to fulfill its 44 episode requirement, I kind of want to know what Dino Fury looks like as one whole entire season. And I almost feel like it would probably even be more impactful or more imperative. Well, not imperative, but definitely more impactful of a season than what it potentially is now, which is kind of crazy to think about considering my love for this series so far. So I do have questions in regards to this. Like, again, I would like to know, are all Power Rangers seasons written that way with the mindset of we're just going to write the story as a 22 episode season? Has that always been the mindset in the past, or is the idea of the contract ending with Nickelodeon and it moving to Netflix, if that certainly changed the trajectory and they had to kind of fill in the gaps after that? That is something that I definitely would like to pick Simon Bennett's brain about. But if I could be honest with you, with this revelation here, when he goes and he also says, so if a few episodes seem like filler, it might be. And they also say, well, I hope much bigger part of the plot is coming our way. And he says, yes, it most definitely is. I think that's the key here. I think the key here is the fact that this season, a lot of the plot, a lot of the story is going to be taking place in this particular moment. And one of the in this particular half of the season. And another reason why I believe that is because of the fact that Simon Bennett also said this past week, no holiday specials. No holiday specials for season 2. Very similar to that of Beast Morphers, if I'm not mistaken, for the second half. I don't believe we had holiday specials in that. If I am wrong, please correct me. But I think the fact alone that he says no holiday specials, I feel like a majority of the filler episodes, if there are any, we probably got in season 1. I think majority of the storytelling is probably going to be happening here in season 2 with the fill the gaps sort of episodes as well. And I look at fill the gaps a little bit different than filler. Like I feel like there could be some filler episodes for sure, but I do think the fill in the gap episodes are maybe minuscule parts of the storyline that are still impactful and will still help move it forward, but definitely not part of the main overall story that they spent 22 episodes, maybe just expanding upon kind of moments I think we'll probably get. So when you tell me no holiday specials, when you tell me that this show was built to be 22 episodes alone and that most of the plot is going to happen in season 2, I think we're in for a season, man. I truly do think that we're in for a season. And the way that everybody has certainly been talking about is in regards to the cast and crew, mentioning the idea that we're just not ready for what we're about to go ahead and get ourselves into. I think they're absolutely right about it. Because listen, one of the things that we've speculated and talked about for quite some time, right, is the idea of like there seems like there's a lot that still needs to be covered. The RAFCON stuff, whether or not that theory of Amelia and Void Knight turn out to be true. But clearly the Void Knight and Santora storyline certainly still has to be explained. I mean, my God, what else is there? I think I mentioned the RAFCON stuff already. I personally still want to know about the Javi and Warden Garcia sort of storyline, right? So there definitely feels like there's a plethora of content and storylines and wrapping things up that we probably will be getting in here. We still have cameos we have yet to see when it comes to season 1. Lord Zed is certainly supposed to be coming back around, right? Commander Shaw is supposed to be in this season. So strap yourselves in, guys. Strap yourselves in, because I do think we're in for a pleasant ride when it comes to season 2. This is everything that I certainly wanted to hear from Simon Bennett. And I'm certainly thrilled that he got the opportunity to share it, guys. So I am kind of curious to know what you guys think in regards to the 22 episode seasons. Like for me, this is another situation where that's kind of how I want my stories to be told when it comes to Power Rangers. I remember commenting on Twitter one day, maybe towards or asking Simon Bennett, like if there were anything that he would change. And I remember he said that if he ever did come back to show run Power Rangers again in the future, that there would certainly be some changes to the season or the show or the direction to change things up. And I am kind of curious as to whether or not one of those changes would be, look, I got a 22 episode story. That's the story that I want to tell. I'm not talking about filler. I'm not talking about gaps. 22 episodes, give that to me. And if I can get 22 episode seasons of just standalone seasons and then maybe changing as we go along, who certainly knows? I mean, look, the future of Power Rangers is completely up in the air. But when I find out Dino Fury was written only as 22 episodes, I kind of now only want to see Power Rangers Dino Fury as 22 episodes. Simon, if you are watching this episode by any weird reason, I don't know why, but if you are watching this, if the episode was broken down, if the series was broken down into 22 episodes, is there a way to point out the 22 episodes that are true to the original script that you had before the filler? If you can point out the 22 episodes specifically that I can watch that will be the closest to encompassing what Dino Fury was supposed to be as the season written out, can you give me a guide in the comment section somewhere with the list of the episodes? Because I would love to watch it the way that it was certainly meant to before the 44. So I'm kind of curious. Do you think it was expanded upon for 44 because Netflix picked it up? Or is it one of those things that usually always happens? It's always sort of written that way. And then when it comes to knowing that there's going to be two separate seasons, you just kind of got to elaborate upon it. Again, I think this is probably at the fault, if I had to say, of anything, of maybe Saban and this whole trajectory of we need, super seasons, right, to give additional seasons to this show. But I do wonder if Dino Fury was just the oddball out just because of the fact of the timing and the placement, being so close to the contract ending when it comes to Nickelodeon, to where they just thought, we'll just go ahead and do this for one season. So here's 22 episodes. And then maybe when they realize, hey, we're going to streaming at some point in time, we really need to expand this so Netflix can have a season of their own. I am kind of curious, but I'm not under the impression that anything was certainly changed for Netflix, if that makes sense, right? Like all the production and the filming and everything took place as they were creating those fill in the gaps and still sort of putting itself together. So I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. Byron says, I think Santora will have multiple forms. Possible. Awesome. Doomsday says, I love Adam, how Adam's always interacting with Simon's picture if he was actually there. I mean, I can't get him on the show, man. So that's the only reason why. He said, wow, you got Simon on the show. Wow, I know, right? Buddies for life, man. Bad boys for life. Me and Simon, man, that's how we roll. That's how we roll. Arcana says that explains the 3-year contract. Realistically, seasons are 22 episodes. They just put filler in to fill time, that's one of the questions I have. Is that the norm, though? Is that the norm? I love Simon Says segment. One day he will interact with the real man. I hope so. One of these days I hope to go ahead and introduce a Simon Says segment, and one day it just be the real life Simon pop up on the screen. Like, oh shit! Like that's the type of moment that I would love to have for you guys one day. Byron says season 2 might be better than season 1. I'm going to go so far and say it will be. It will be. I'm going to take my bets right now and say it will be. The game sensei, he's not going to be answering you until the final Netflix drop for Dino Fury. Oh, I'm more than positive about that. But I don't think that question is spoilerish. Like, I don't think that question is too much to ask, in the sense of, can maybe after the season drops, maybe he can comment on what episode specifically, if you combine them together, really kind of encompass the 22 episodes that he had in mind. But as far as like finding out, is this the case with all the seasons? Are they all written as 22 episodes, but knowing that we're going to be branching off into 2 seasons, then they fill in the gaps based off of that? Is that the norm, or is that just the way Dino Fury played itself? I'm kind of curious to know. Isaiah says, I think season 1 of Power Rangers, it was a lot better, and I hope season 2 gets even better. Me too. I really do hope that they do wonderful in here, and I have a feeling that they will. What if the Poke fan, he says, what if some of the big plans for the season after Dino Fury, but maybe need to stall some time to figure out some final details? That's a possibility too, to give them certainly some more time to work around. That's definitely a possibility. Good theory, Poke fan, for sure. Charles, what's up, Charles? He says, I want Kimberly to come back. Maybe one day, Scott. I mean, maybe one day, Charles. Maybe one day. Johnny says, I'd rather see a whole Power Ranger season as 44 episodes. I wouldn't mind seeing that if it's written for 44 episodes. If it's not written and not meant to be 44 episodes, then it just feels more diluted than anything, So I almost want to see what Dino Fury is supposed to be like in its true form, without the filler or the fill in the gap sort of segments. But guys, let me know your thoughts. What do you think when you hear what Simon Bennett says about how Dino Fury season 2 was originally written? What do you take in regards to that and the idea of no holiday specials? Are you pumped for what Dino Fury could certainly have in store for us for season 2? Go ahead and let us know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. And with that out of the way, we will jump over into our final topic for the day, guys. So thank you very much for continuing to join us here. But when it comes to tokusatsu, the universe continues to expand, at least when it comes to the Shin universe. That's right, guys. Shin universe is in the news once again, from Shin Godzilla, which I continue to recommend to you guys to the high heavens. It seems as though we've got ourselves a massive collaboration that is officially on our hands, as several production studios are going to be teaming up to truly bring us a Shin universe. And it looks as though they're referring to it as the Shin Japan Heroes universe. This article actually comes to us from the Tokusatsu Network, saying that a joint Godzilla, Ultraman, Kamen Rider, and even Evangelion production officially announced. Now, I haven't read this article in too great of a detail, but I'm going to go ahead and dive into it right now to kind of figure out and see what exactly this is meant to be. Because look, we do know that when it comes to live action adaptions, they have been doing their best part to take these tokusatsu um, franchises and sort of revamp them, if you will, for a more modernized experience. We got the opportunity to see that with Shin Godzilla. You know, the idea of this Godzilla creature very much feels like the original Godzilla, but maybe taking place in modern times, and that would certainly look like. We've got Shin Ultraman that's supposed to be dropping this summer. And we also have Shin Kamen Rider, which I believe is currently being filmed right now for release sometime next year. But the idea of including Evangelion is pretty interesting here. So let's dive into this and see exactly what it is that we're going to be getting from this shared universe. So this is from Tokusatsu Network, another great place for your Japanese entertainment information. It says the movies Shin Kamen Rider, Shin Ultraman, Shin Godzilla, and Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time, that's a mouthful, are crossing over in a joint collaboration called Shin Japan Heroes Universe. Each of these series will cross over in an ongoing collaboration between the series producers, Toei, Subaraya, Toho, and Kara. The project is called Shin Japan Heroes Universe, and while nothing is known about exactly what kind of collaboration it will be, it aims to represent Japan's heroes. Um, Hideki Anu is the director for all four movies in the collaboration. However, Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider have not yet been released. The movies in the SJHU were all reimaginings of classic Japanese series with darker undertones and updated effects. For Toho, Shin Godzilla acted as a reboot for their Godzilla franchise and updated several of the metaphors that Godzilla originally stood for, as Godzilla was a metaphor for nuclear devastation, and the Godzilla from Shin Godzilla is a metaphor for ecological disaster and nuclear power in general. And that's the design of their Shin Godzilla. Terrifying. Terrifying. Um, Thrice Upon a Time served as a conclusion of the rebuild of Evangelion tetralogy. The film series acts as an alternate timeline to the main Evangelion series, introducing new characters, Evangelions, and plot points and antagonists. Not much is known about how Shin Ultraman and Shin Kamen Rider will change the plots of their respective series, and this looks like they actually have a logo already kind of created here, a little emblem, if you will. But yeah, that's all that it says. Is just to stay tuned. The source is the Super Japan Heroes Universe. I am kind of curious if there's any other information in regards to it here. Can we translate this into English? This page cannot be translated. Try again. Man, it's like nothing else on this page. Is that it? It's just a logo. Is that really the whole page, guys? It's just a logo. Okay, I guess that's it. Interesting thing, guys. Interesting stuff. I am curious if this is going to be like a live action collaboration at some particular point in time. Is this going to be like just comic book related? Is this okay? Here we go. Let's see. I was able to get the website up. It just took forever to load. Let's see if it says anything else. Oh, I love this. This is the website. I love this picture. The Shin era begins to move. It's a miracle project in which four works collaborate will start. It's a dream collaboration of four heroes. A joint meeting of four companies was held, and it was decided to launch the project as consensus of each company. With the support of Mr. Ano, we got off to a good start. But that's all it says. It doesn't really give us just to when to expect the movies. I'm assuming, if anything, maybe that just means that they will all be under the same like universe in the same world. Like I'm curious if like Shin Ultraman will reference the idea of Evangelion or even Shin Godzilla. Same thing with Kamen Rider. I wonder if, like, in the Kamen Rider world that they're putting together, does Godzilla exist in that world also, right? Like, I think that would be pretty cool if there's a big, massive sort of connective tissue between all of these. Just simple references, maybe simple cameos, I think would really go a long way with some of these movies. I'm curious if that's what we'll get in the movies, or after all these movies drop, if they'll even be like even bigger connective tissues. But I'm kind of under the impression that this means that they're all going to be taking place in the same universe in some way or another. Uh, Midwest says, Toku Avengers assemble. Definitely. Definitely. That's definitely the vibes that I'm definitely getting here. And it's one of those things, guys, um, we've talked about this before. Multiverses, big cinematic universes are key these days. It's where you making your money. People love to see heroes and villains collaborate, come together. And this seems like this is definitely one of them. I kind of like the idea of all these characters maybe taking place in the same universe. I will be interested to see if there's any nods to that happening in these movies, or if they're just planning on announcing them together like this and have other projects and plans in store as these movies release in this year and next year. But let me know what you guys think in regards to this. Are you pumped for this collaboration as I am? Because I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all turns out. All right, guys. And I think with that out of the way, we will go ahead and turn our attention to your guys' live viewer questions as we go ahead and wrap up this episode. I'm going to see if I can nail this within under an hour, to answer some of your guys' questions so that I can get to my meeting. My appointment's at 4. It takes me like 45 minutes to get there. So I got to leave here by like 3:15 at the latest. So let's see let's see what noise we can make before we go. All right, let's jump into these questions, guys. Jessica Friedman coming through. Would you like to see the reboot would you like to see what would I like to see in the reboot Power Ranger series? um for me, new villains, new costumes. I wouldn't mind if the costumes have a little homage or a nod to the classic MMPR costume. um I do want to see brand new characters. Let's get us the hell out of Angel Grove. I really want to see just more relatable storylines for some of these characters. Also, especially if we're going to be bumping up the levels of storytelling a little bit more. I don't necessarily need a Megazord fight every episode. If you can come up with a different formula and method of storytelling for this new iteration of Power Rangers, I would really appreciate that. New Zord designs and just really new character building. Like for me, I don't even necessarily like, there are elements to me that kind of I if it is going to take place on Earth, I think it would be cool if there are some aliens involved, some alien members on the team itself. I think would be pretty cool. I don't know if they're going to go get that crazy or not. Maybe that's something that they decide to do in maybe one of the spin-off television series or animated sort of stuff. Um, but and I think for me, and one of the things that I mentioned before is just don't forget where you came from. Like for me, that is very important. Um, I would like some references to past MMPR team, a reference here or there to a particular character or an OG or whatever the case may be, an acknowledgement of certainly what came before, or the idea of discovering this sort of as new to the characters, and then eventually as the movies and the spin-offs and the other shows continuing to advance starts shedding some more light in the sense of, you guys aren't the first Power Rangers. There have been more sort of in the past, and making just sort of connective tissues. I think you can still create something new, launch it, and have fun in your sandbox, in your world, and still be able to make a reference to somebody that came before, or something that happened at another particular point in time from past. So that's the kind of stuff that I personally would like to see when it comes to the new Power Rangers series. Marcelino Vasquez has a couple of questions. He says, whenever there are shows or movies that heavily reference Power Rangers by borrowing some of their elements, I hear the casual and non-fans say that's either out of place or cringy. Popular examples include The Flash season 7, Supergirl series finale, and the Cyborg Gang from Boba Fett. To me, this kind of endorses the stereotype the general public have towards Power Rangers, that it's a kid show that has cringy comedy, forced morals of the day, and is basically just as bad as Teen Titans. Does it irritate you just as well? That's a good point, Marcelino. I'm glad you brought that up, because it does feel like, I will say, I think it only I think it only got mindset and called out on when it definitely feels out of place, right? Like, you got some great examples in that. And that I think the pushback comes when it's another show trying to be like Power Rangers. And so it sort of gets that negative connotation to it. That Power Rangers is sort of a lesser show, whereas I don't necessarily see it that much that way, so much as I see it as a show trying to be something that it's not, right? Where that sort of works better for Power Rangers, but not so much the Flash or Book of Boba Fett. You know what I mean? So it automatically brings back that negative idea of, oh, it's Power Ranger related, so it shouldn't be in this show. And I don't know if that's a detriment to Power Rangers being terrible, or so much that the show is terrible and trying to be something that it's not, in regards to them, the Flash trying to be like Power Rangers or whatever the case may be. There is a little bit of irritation. I will agree with you there, Marcelino. I'm still trying to figure that out in my head as to what that is, though. But yeah, when you do, but I feel like it's not just even Power Rangers though either. Like, there's sometimes now, especially when it comes to like the Avengers, right? Like, I see other shows sometimes have that shot, of like the group in a circle and the camera comes in and it does that 360 spin to kind of get everybody. There are like a lot of famous shots now in other shows that I feel like are just being ripped and utilized from that of the Avengers. I don't know if that gives those shows a bad rap so much as it does them being like Power Rangers, right? Or if it just comes across that way. I don't know, but it definitely does come across cringy at times when it's just not executed right. Like, I think if the execution were better, maybe it wouldn't irritate so much. But I get what you mean, Marcelino. I definitely do get what you mean. Gabriel, what's up, Gabriel? Appreciate you coming through. Which Ranger had the best unmorphed fights in the series? Oh, Jesus, that's a big, that's really broad. Which Rangers had the best unmorphed fights in the series? I will say, if I'm just gonna go ahead and stick with the current series in Dino Fury, it's probably got to be for me. I'm probably unmorphed fights. I will say Dino Fury season 1 finale had a pretty goddamn good unmorph fight for a lot of the Rangers. That's probably my favorite that I've seen in quite some time. The Void Knight versus our Dino Furies in their unmorph fight. Seeing them face off against the big bads in their unmorph sequence, I was a really big fan of that. Do you wish Power Rangers could give us a dark season again without forgetting the comedy at times? I feel like past seasons we had, like Time Force, Wild Force, RPM, and Evil Jungle Fury, were so good at being dark without being so lighthearted, where the audience would be geared as stupid. Do I wish that they would give us a dark season again? Absolutely. Do I think that they will? Probably not. I do feel like the emphasis on who they're writing to has definitely changed over the years. While I think that they definitely had the mindset to write towards kids, even in the Disney era, I feel like they have continued to maybe shrink that age range. Like when I used to think of like even Disney era stuff, I would think, okay, maybe early teens, you know. But now we're like 6 year olds. So I do think that there are times when you can easily put darker elements into a series without the entirety of the series being darker. I think those days are kind of past us in regards to at least the Power Ranger formula that we've known over the years when it comes to kids programming. I do think that that time period is past us. I think we're going to get much more lighthearted material for kids programming. Not to say that they can't dive into some deep undertones, but I think that's probably all that it will probably be. If we are thinking about anything of a darker series going forward, maybe the Reboot and Imagining can certainly tackle something like that, whether that be the main series, the movie, or any of the other spinoffs that they have in mind. So maybe there will be some hope when it comes to the new Reboot and Reimagining to kind of tackle that stuff. But to balance it out, to balance it out if they need to with some lightheartedness and some humor would definitely go a long way. You also say we have talked about Jonathan Entwistle and Hasbro reimagining a billion times. But how do you think Jonathan even decided to tack Power Rangers with the team up with Netflix? Do you think he has a really strong vision for the franchise's future? I do. I do. The only reason why I say that too is he has the support of a writer in the sense of Brian Edward Hill, who recently, I would say within the past year, has commented on the genius of Jonathan Entwistle. And I think he probably has a pretty fresh take on the Power Ranger universe. I think if Brian Edward Hill, and granted, look, they're probably a duo, certainly working together, right? So, I mean, I don't expect Brian Edward Hill to throw this man under the bus, but I don't think he had to go so far as to call him a genius. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are other ways that you can um, compliment and share your love for somebody and the good work that they're kind of doing. But with Brian Edward Hill's words towards something that I commented on and really giving Jonathan Entwistle some props. I think Hasbro, regardless of how many times they maybe have had to rewrite and go back and figure things out, that's all part of the process of, it doesn't mean that they're not on the same page. It's just all about the process of trying to get it right. And you take your time in trying to get it right. And the fact that Jonathan Entwistle is still attached to this project, that they haven't moved on to anybody else to go ahead and tackle it, I think they feel confident in what it is that they're trying to create. Could it be terrible? Absolutely. It certainly could be. But how do I think Jonathan will even decide to tackle Power Rangers with the team up? It's probably just changing the format. I think changing the formula of what we've had for such a long time, and really focus more heavily on the formula's focus being storytelling, and pushing characters forward. So, maybe even changing up the number of members we have on a team from 5 to 3 to begin off with, right? Like there are things that you can vastly do different, little small things that we've seen done in Power Rangers before. Maybe a established group of 3, and then maybe by the end of the season we've got a team of 5, right? Like just different ways of attacking it. So I do think that he's got a strong vision for the franchise future. Whether it's successful or not, who knows? But Hasbro believes in him, and the writer believes in him in regards to Brian Edward Hill. So that's enough for me. That's enough for me. Abise, what's up, Abise? Got a couple questions. Is it me, or do you think Ryan from Lightspeed Rescue and James from Dino Charge were useless during their series due to lack of footage? We know Ryan was all original Ranger, while James, I kind of liked Ryan from Lightspeed. I actually thought that they handled him well, especially with him being sort of an original Ranger. James, on the other hand, yes, I see what you mean there. If only the writers let them stay on the show and just explain why they couldn't be in the battlefield all the time, like their powers were damaged or limited due to monsters attack or the morphing grid. I definitely get what you mean. What if Hasbro were to bring Michael Bay to be on board for Power Rangers in the movie? Oh God, um, Michael Bay, please stay away. Please stay away. Look, I don't want Michael Bay writing or even show running or executive producing anything Power Ranger related. If they wanted to say bring Michael Bay in as director, I would be open to it. I would be open to a Michael Bay directed film because there is something very 90s action stylized, big explosion, slow motion action sequences that I really do like. Like his stuff can be rather appealing to the eye for me when it comes to Michael Bay stuff. But if he is the showrunner or the guiding lights or the writer of the Power, no, 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 no. Let me get somebody that knows what they're doing in regards to really putting together a strong story. Then let me have Michael Bay direct. I would be okay with that. I would be okay with that. But if Michael Bay wants to raise his hand and give some input, no, 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 put your hand down. Put your hand down, Michael Bay. You just keep filming. Just keep filming. That's how it would go. Do you agree or disagree that Becca and Alwyn have been unfairly blamed when it comes to Power Rangers since they've worked on the show since Dino Fury and, of course, Ninja Steel? And do you think they've gotten so much better with Dino Fury? Do you think they will go back to their old ways as Dino Fury goes forward in season 2, which not explaining things properly and treating viewers as idiots? I really viewed a lot of that looking back and seeing how things have unfolded. I do think a lot of that is Saban and Nickelodeon's doing. Um, I do think that Becca and Alwyn have definitely shown what they're capable of. Like for me, I would even say I would be fascinated to see what Becca and Alwyn could do outside of Power Rangers. Um, because I do think that while the creative handcuffs have been um, released, they probably have been more loosened. You know what I mean? Than anything else. I think they probably still are on them because I do think that there are, you got to write to a certain fan base, right? A certain age group. So there's certain things that maybe them as writers want to do, but maybe they can't get away with because of the fact of the base that they're certainly writing to. Um, but I do feel like with Beast Morphers and even a further viewpoint when it comes to Dino Fury, that they've really established themselves as better writers than I think that we gave them credit for originally. And I think by seeing the advancements that Beast Morphers and Dino Fury have showcased to us, I think it just continues to show what Saban and Nickelodeon really did tragically, unfortunately, to the Power Ranger franchise before a lot of those seasons. And it's just unfortunate that they had so many handcuffs. And again, I'm not saying that Becca and Alwyn are like the best writers in the world. Let's get them on an Avengers project anytime soon. But I do think that seeing things now compared to the past, they probably did get a lot of unfair blame. Probably did. Michael, what's up? Does Power Rangers need a more serialized, darker show for mature fans, even though we've had legacy seasons that have already been serialized? Like, what topics would like Hasbro reimagine topics to tackle while still being watchable for even young kids? So, like, I mean, I, let's just go to Stargirl, for instance, on CW, right? Darker undertones, much a lot more mature, but available for kids to watch. You know what I'm saying? Like it's got that TV 14 rating, I'm sure, but it's still accessible for f- kids and family to be able to watch. Um, that's the type of thing that I think you can go for, right? Like those characters, high school students, but they also do deal with real high schooler feelings and opposition and joy and sorrow, right? Like more real life experiences than the idea of everybody living in sunny California and going to the rich school all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you can add some diversity in this new Power Ranger reboot and reimagining, and what I mean by diversity is just kids from different households, kids from different environments, and really showcase that in real world situations that we find ourselves in. Because Power Rangers, while these kids are in high school and things like that, they don't really tackle real world situations that high school students tackle. It's like high school students tackling real world problems for 6-year olds. You know, lessons that anybody from the age 6 to 10 would probably learn is what like these high school students in Power Rangers currently are going through. Whereas I think the idea of darker and more mature for me when I think of Power Rangers just simply means being a more realistic storytelling, of high schoolers, the stuff that high schoolers go through today and how they embark on juggling a superhero life with their real world issues that they have to tackle at the same time. And I think that alone not only makes it darker, but it gives you more serious storytelling. You can still balance it out with some humor. And it does at least allow maybe younger kids who haven't quite gotten to college or gotten to high school to at least understand and see some of the challenges that they certainly might have to deal with as they get older. You know what I mean? And how to handle those type of moments. So I think I do think that there's a balance that certainly could be had when it comes to allowing the new stuff, while even for more mature fans, to be mature enough to where it's still like a TV 14, which I think would even give us a much better experience of Power Rangers without breaking into the rated R type of stuff and still being accessible for younger kids. And I still think that there's plans on kids programming also aside from that. What storyline or plot would you like Super Sentai to borrow from Power Rangers that was very iconic and successful, even if Zoologia possibly becomes the final adaptation? What storyline or plot would I like Super Sentai to borrow from Power Rangers? Have they done the whole my sister is evil and I've got to face off against my evil sister? And have they done that before in Super Sentai? I got to bring her to the light side, like sibling villains. Have they done that? Have they done the in space thing with Astronomer for Super Sentai? If they have, let me know. Let me know. Because it might be a Sentai season I have not seen adapted, but I would love to see that. Would you like better or more? Dulcia being one who created and gave the ninja powers to MMPR in the movie, or Ninjor? Ooh, do you wish Fox and TV allowed the TV? Ooh, and yes, I do wish that Fox had allowed the TV series to use the props, considering we don't get direct references from the movie. Yeah, I would have liked that. They did that with the damn birds, the crows. Oh, damn, what the fuck is their name? Off the top of my head, I'm losing it now. But them, I mean, they carried them over from didn't they carry? Yeah, they carried them over from the movie. Um, did they? Now you got me. Yeah, they did. They did. Um, so yeah, I wouldn't have. I really was kind of hoping. I think even as a kid, that there would even be like even as a kid though, I did appreciate the fact that after the movie, we did get the ninja storyline at least in the comic books, in the series itself. So for me, growing up as a kid, that was actually pretty cool. Like that was my connective tissue back in the day that I was completely okay with. As far as like, do I have preferred them to do the Ninjor or the Dulcia? I like both characters in the overall Power Ranger lore. I would have liked Dulcia though. I probably would have liked Dulcia and to have Ninjor maybe included in another way, or who knows, maybe lore they could have found some way to implement them both of them in regards to that. But if I had a preference, Dulcia. Matthew Rivera. Who knew that in Power Rangers Dino Thunder, the reveal as Anton Mercer became a huge plot twist the same episode, burning at both ends when Trent's white dino gem had already taken over his mind. The other plot twist was also Time Force when we were revealed near the second half of the series that Alex wasn't actually killed by Rancic. He just managed to survive and was actually the commander of the Time Force year 3000. Also Power Morphicon. You know how Power Morphicon was the celebration of Power Rangers and the reveal of the new cast members. Beast Morphers was the last one to do it right before COVID, so we started getting virtual reveals with Dino Fury at Hasbro Pulse. Do you think that with the new Hasbro Netflix universe, perhaps we can get the actual cast announcement at the next Power Morphicon, considering the actual show or movie will be on Netflix? Changing platforms doesn't mean that the in-person cast reveal is no more, and it all depends on how COVID is next summer. That's a good question when it comes to Power Morphicon. Like, I am curious as to how connected Power Morphicon is with Hasbro. Because there is a part of me that kind of feels like the reveals will now be done at Hasbro Pulse Cons instead of Power Morphicon. Now, it's not to say that Hasbro Pulse Con can't introduce the Rangers, and I guess maybe it's just a placement on when Power Morphicon winds up dropping. But I could see a world where they're announced virtually on Hasbro's PulseCon, or who knows, maybe eventually Hasbro decides, you know what, we don't want to do virtual. We want to do a physical convention and has a place for Hasbro PulseCon to actually be at. Or they could do it at Hasbro PulseCon first, virtually or physically, and then at Power Morphicon, have the cast actually do sort of a big costume reveal there and have them sort of walking out. Like, for me, it would just depend on, I am curious what the relationship is between Hasbro and those that run Power Morphicon. Are they that tight? Will they allow them to continue to have all these, especially the newer characters? That I don't know about, but I personally would love to still see that just based off of the legacy of Power Morphicon. But with things changing a lot, who's to say if Hasbro's even going to recognize that, So I would like to see it like that. Hasbro PulseCon virtually revealed. You go to Power Morphicon for the convention, and you actually wind up getting an opportunity to see them come out in costumes and things like that. That would be pretty cool, but we'll see. Jordan, thank you very much. Jordan, you wind up shooting me the Twitter for the premiere of season 2. So thank you very much for sending that my way, man. Jackson Peterson. What's up, Jackson? He says, what are your thoughts on the longtime Power Ranger YouTubes no longer doing Power Ranger content after Neo Saban era and Beast Morphers? Listen, to each their own. Sometimes being on YouTube can be stressful. I look, guys, I would be lying if I said that there weren't some days more than others where I've wanted to take down my channel and go off and do other things. There's a part of me that wants to continue to stick around because I want to be a part of what Hasbro has in store for Power Rangers and continue to be the connective tissues from past Power Ranger stuff to the new stuff. But I don't blame YouTubers, Power Ranger content creators for wanting to move on and do other things, or maybe they feel like with the Hasbro stuff, there's no connection for them anymore and they want to move on to do other things. And so I can never fault anybody for wanting to drop something or wanting to create something new for themselves. Certainly to each their own. But I would be lying if I said those thoughts don't cross my mind. Like some people, because some people don't know my situation, right? Like my situation is I've been doing this for a long time. While people may look at my APlus Morphinominal channel and see only 1,000 subscribers and only established within the past year and a half or two, I spent a good 8-10 years maybe with another YouTube channel called APlus Opinions, where I think the first season that I started reviewing was maybe Mega Force or Super Mega Force. I can't remember honestly off the top of my head. But we've been doing Power Rangers and Super Sentai reviews for a while. A Plus Opinions had 16,000 subscribers at one particular point in time before Toei decided to hit me with copyright strikes and got mad at the idea that maybe I was getting too big for them and decided to go ahead and shut my channel down. And so I kind of came back with A Plus Morphinominal. So yeah, I've been doing this a while. So there are moments where sometimes the Power Ranger fandom as a community can be a little bit too much. Not to say that you guys are. I absolutely love your support that you guys continue to show me. But is toxicity sometimes in the fandom, whether that be Ranger Nation, whether that be Tokusatsu, that sometimes gets under my skin in the sense of I don't want to do this anymore. You know, I've got a baby boy, I've got a newborn at home, right? That maybe I want to devote more time to. As much as I enjoy Power Rangers, it's not my first franchise that I fell in love with, right? I'm very much a Star Wars and comic book guy. So, you know, maybe my interest is leaning towards one thing more than the other at times. So I get the idea of some Power Ranger content YouTube creators wanting to leave because I do get that mindset myself sometimes. But I love interacting with the fans and I love the superhero genre. And, I've continued to enjoy Power Rangers over the years, continue to learn more about Power Rangers over the years, along with Super Sentai. But there definitely are some moments. So if people want to leave and stop doing YouTube content after the Neo Saban era series and Beast Morphers, maybe because of their feelings towards Hasbro and the direction, more power to them because I understand. I understand. And it's a lot of hard work. It really is. I had a dream last night that Transformers were riding Zords into a battle. Is that too much to hope for? Which bots and Zords would be a good combo? Nah, that's not too much to hope for, man. I'm sure there are plenty have dreamed of that one day themselves. Even if not the case of riding on Zords, but maybe just teaming up alongside them would be pretty epic. Transformers are nowhere near as big as Zords, though, if I'm not mistaken, they probably would definitely need a little bit of an enhancement, but that would be pretty cool, right? To see like Optimus Prime riding the T-Rex. That'd be pretty cool. That's something out of last night, but hopefully maybe done a little bit better. I don't know if we'll ever see that live action form, maybe in an animated crossover or a comic book crossover one day, but probably not in live action anytime soon. But it would be cool. It would be cool. Definitely give me Optimus riding a T-Rex. I definitely would love to see that. A Bumblebee maybe connecting with the pterodactyl in some sort of cute little way would be cool. Like if you just had the pterodactyl legs pick up Bumblebee by the top of his buggy roof and just flew around or something would be pretty cool. Um, yeah, there's some pretty cool combinations that would be out there. That'd be pretty cool if Transformers could actually transform and combine with some of our Rangers, right? With some of our Zords. Now that would be pretty badass, kind of like what we have with Zenkaiger. I think that'd be pretty cool. You might have already discussed this, but what did you think of season 2 coming to Netflix on March 3rd? If you could, what episodes do you think we would get after? Um, if you could, what episodes do you think we would get after the first 2 descriptions? Well, we already talked about the third this episode description, talking about missing, the idea of replacing people's memories with false memories. That's a pretty interesting concept. I definitely would like to kind of tackle. But I'm pumped for it to come back in season 2 of Netflix. I think fans will be a lot more patient with it, dropping 11 episodes at once, giving us something that we can always go back to and rewatch until they go ahead and release the second half of the season. So I'm pumped for it, though. I really am. Tony, what's up, Tony? You got a couple questions. Something I realized about Power Rangers Jungle Fury, just so you know, I'm just sharing my thoughts, so please don't be offended. Never offended, Tony. I recently came to the realization that Jungle Fury is the whitest season. Is the whitest season of Power Rangers. Out of 14 named characters, 5 core Rangers, 7 Masters, Jared and Camille, only 2 of them Theo and Master Mayo are not white. Given that Jungle Fury premises is heavily inspired by Asian mythology and the culture, and the fact that PR has always been a racially diverse show, this was very strange. That is strange. I appreciate you pointing that out. I know that there are some writer strikes going on at the time, so perhaps that's part of the reason. I also think Jungle Fury would have been a perfect season to introduce the first a Red Ranger. Some people would say the same about Samurai. Regardless, it's still a very, very great season in the franchise. Yeah, I do enjoy Jungle Fury. Jungle Fury is a series that I think is very underrated. But I appreciate you bringing that to my attention, man. Right? Because Jungle Fury, what was it? Jungle Fury, Operation Overdrive, and then RPM, or did it go Jungle Fury and then into RPM? I can't remember, but that does feel pretty strange considering the diversity for sure. Second question: what are your thoughts when Power Rangers in Space Johnny Bosch came back as Adam and that he used the damn? I just rewatched that clip again to help Carlos. Gave up being a ranger. What does this tell you about Adam as a character and the power morphers themselves, along with the morphing grid? Well, look, the morphing grid, I've said this before, especially after watching Beast Morphers turn Steel into a real live boy like freaking Pinocchio. The morphing grid works in mysterious ways, is one of the things that I've definitely have learned. And honestly, like, for me, that is such a standout moment for Adam as a character. Like, for me, it just elevated him to like leader status for Power Rangers. So like to see him come back in Operation Overdrive as the leader of that team seemed very warranted, and I'm glad that he got the opportunity to actually lead a team of Rangers, because this was the Adam and the Carlos scene where he picks up the damaged morpher, you know, just shows his his selflessness, um his idea and concept of willing to do anything in order to help somebody, and the lengths that he would definitely go in order to try and sort of save the day. And I think the fact that he puts his friends first and puts himself in danger, I think is just super telling in regards to Adam as a character. And probably thinking back on like just Adam as a character outside of my enjoyment from him in the MMPR movie, this was definitely a moment in his character that I think truly separated him from everybody else, right? Like, I think sometimes going back and just rethinking, I'm sure there are plenty of Johnny Bosch fans out there that really loved Adam, but you always see Adam and Rocky and Aisha sort of like, the they're really like the second cast, right? Like they're really like the replacements, if you will. And it definitely took some characters some time to actually shine. Like Rocky for me didn't really start shining until something like In Space, right, where he started really getting his own sort of personality. And that type of stuff definitely happened for a lot of the other characters like Aisha along with Rocky and things like that too. But I think in regards to really separating themselves as a formidable ranger on their own, willing to do anything, taking that next level instead of just being sort of a background character or a side character, putting you into the forefront. I think that was Adam's moment, man. And I love it. It gives me, I literally watched that scene. And I can't remember how I came across it, if it was somebody that posted it on YouTube, on Twitter, or I came across it over on YouTube. But it gave me chills again watching it again. I love that. I love that sequence. Next question, Francois Dupont. Greetings from France. Oh, we international star now. We're international star. Salut, merci, Francois. So thank you very much, man. What did you think of the first season of Dino Fury, and what are you hoping to see next season that is much better than what we already have gotten so far? So the first season of Dino Fury, I enjoyed. I definitely did think that it certainly had its bright moments for sure, pushing the envelope, giving us a lot of firsts, but I think it could even be better. I think it could even be better. So I enjoyed it. I'm not going to go so far and say this was the best season ever. I definitely enjoyed it. I think season 2 could outdo what we wind up having even this time around. So, and I kind of went through some of the things that I want to see. the final confrontation, hopefully with Lord Zed. I'm really looking forward to that. The upgrades in regards to the Dino Night mode, I really want to see what that's certainly going to be looking like, and just further collaboration and story for some of our characters. Amelia's growth, the Warden Garcia and Javi and Izzy growth. I definitely want to see how that kind of all comes into play. And then the Santora and Void Knight stuff. I think by really pushing the plot storyline further, even the RAFCON stuff, I think if less filler and lessons of the day episodes and more focused storylines, and I think that's exactly what we're going to get this time around. What did you think of Power Rangers SBD having 3 Rangers being red? You have had Jack as the actual leader, Sky, the Blue Ranger, and then in the finale, then Bridge, who was the Green Ranger in the 15th anniversary team up of Operation Overdrive. Would you like to see more Rangers from a single series be promoted or changed between colors in the future? I think that would be actually pretty cool, just to show not that there's a hierarchy, but similar to what we had in the past. Some Rangers leave, some Rangers come, and people that have been there the longest just kind of continue to be pushed forward. So I think that'd be pretty cool. Even if it's all new production, which I have heard Netflix is the new home for Power Rangers, starting with the 2nd season of Power Rangers Dino Fury. Yeah, I mean, you could still certainly do the same thing with them. Granted, it may take a little bit of time, maybe 2 or 3 seasons under their belt before any changing of colors or promotions, but I think that feels like a very natural progression, Francois. So yeah, I would agree with you. And thank you very much for writing us from France, man. I appreciate it. Joey Thompson, excuse me, Joey. I apologize, man. Joey, do you think Void Knight will stay as a villain even after Santora is awakened and as Void Queen for what we saw in the new season trailer? If so, do you think Hasbro and Simon can handle 2 big bads this season? I still have a sour taste from the Neo Saban where too many villains were handled very badly. I get the worry. Joey, for sure. I do wonder if it's a case of there's almost a part of me that thinks that Void Knight, now that he's brought back Santora, I don't think he will stay as a villain. I don't think Void Knight will stay as a villain. I think he's got his intentions of bringing back his love, but I do wonder if there's a point where his love just kind of goes off the rails. If Santora is the Void Queen, and if she does have, say, an additional um formation where she becomes a monster, there is a part of me that wonders if things maybe even get too out of hand for Void Knight, and he's like, "Look, I just brought you back because I wanted to love you again, right? Like I wasn't, I'm really not here to try and kill and destroy absolutely everything in this world. You've kind of dove off the deep end there, honey. Can we get a divorce? I don't know if he's I feel like maybe even Void Queen's aspirations might be even bigger than maybe what Void Knight had eventually intended. And I do wonder if that will allow him to change his armor, or if the armor, that brown armor, goes to somebody else. But I am intrigued in Void Knight's storyline just based off of the limited footage that he has in Real Soldier, and how much Dino Fury does not mind doing original footage. And if that shot of Void Knight without his armor on, but with his sword, and then that sort of 90s rock star outfit, or even 80s rock star outfit, I'm hoping that's either a flashback sequence or him sort of shedding the armor in regards to pushback against Centaura and maybe the changes that she has. I don't know. What impact did Power Rangers Ninja Storm give to the franchise, considering it is the 19th anniversary this week as I write this? Slightly off topic, but do you think Lord Zed may still be popping up in season 2? Yes, I do think that he will pop up in season 2. Well, Ninja Storm, if I'm not mistaken, was the first series that gave us our first 3 Rangers, right? I think that definitely opened up the door for other seasons like that for sure. I mean, look at Beast Morphers sort of starting out that way, right? So, as far as its impact, I mean, we did have the 2 additional Rangers started off as evil villains, and then eventually became part of the team itself to form the main Rangers or main 5 group of Rangers sort of thing. Shout out to Pua once again, man, for his early departure from this realm. Really unfortunate, man. It would be interesting to see if anybody does anything with this being the 19th anniversary, if anybody does any sort of remembrance, or maybe even waiting for next year's 20th in regards to that. But Ninja Storm was definitely a breath of fresh air. Matthew, what's up, Matthew? I don't know about you, but I really don't like the CGI of the upcoming Sentai series Dawn Brothers. I just feel like it's going to look really ridiculous with the human characters interacting with it. And I just know the tone is going to shift every time the Black Ranger and the other CGI characters are on the screen, even when the human Rangers aren't in their suits. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the CGI. I'm not a fan of the CGI. One of the things that I have at least seen when we did the trailer breakdown, it's not all CGI at least, right? Some of the shots when it comes to, was it Kiji brother, the tall, slender man looking one? I always want to say stork, but that's not a pheasant. He's a pheasant. There is a shot in there that's a close-up shot of Pink, and it's a physical suit. So I am curious how much physical suit and how much CGI we're going to be getting in the series for Dawn Brothers. But I would agree with you, Matthew. I am concerned. It was my biggest worry going into the series, and after seeing the trailer, it continues to be my biggest worry out of the series. Sometimes I think it's going to look too cringy, too hard to watch, maybe pull us out of the episodes. I think it's the fact alone that we have 5 physical actors playing their civilian modes. This now feels more gimmicky than anything else. And while I appreciate Toei wanting to do something unique and different, you just did that with the 45th anniversary. To add this type of gimmick to a series that already has 5 physical actors, I don't think is needed. Because I do think, if anything, it's going to be more cringy and pull people out of the episode itself, or moments out of the episode, than it'll do the series justice. But that's my concern. That's my concern. You also say, I haven't seen Zenkaiger, but I know the Sixth Ranger looks like the Gokaigers. Any chance he was compared to the Gokaigers on the show? And would you like to see him fight with the Gokaigers? I think he should have popped up in the 10-year reunion movie. Yeah, I don't know if I wanted him to pop up in the 10-year reunion movie, but I definitely wanted a trip to Piratopia and having a confrontation with Captain Marvelous. I would love that moment. I don't think we're going to get that moment with only like 2 or 3 episodes left of Zenkaiger. So I think missed opportunity there. But no, in the show, he has not met the other Gokaigers, unfortunately, Matthew. JK Lawrence, what's up, JK? What are some of your favorite fight scenes in Disney era? RPM had some great ones, honestly. RPM had some great ones. Jungle Fury had some great ones. I can't remember them specifically, like, oh, that fight sequence for sure. I was a big fan of the ones from Dino Thunder as well. And then Ninja Storm was enjoyable for me too. So those are the 4 that right off the top of my head that I remember really enjoying fight sequences of. When did you realize that Power Rangers has been using Super Sentai footage, and did it ever make you question the actors for not actually fighting? No, it never made me question the actors for not actually fighting, because I have seen them fight in civilian mode, and for me, that's good enough. Showing some level of athleticism so it's believable that you're under the costume is all that I ask for. Even if they're not in the suits, clearly I would love to see them in the suits, but we don't get to see them do that very often. I don't remember when I realized Super Sentai and Power Rangers were so heavily connected. I honestly cannot remember. Does Super Sentai always also do ADR while the stunt actors are in the actual suits? And do you wish that actual on-screen actors had more screen time in their suits without their helmets? Yes, I do. Yes to both of them. They do ADR work also for Super Sentai. And then, yes, I would like to see the actual actors in the suits minus the helmet a lot more than what we get to see now. Johnny Marrero, Are you excited and happy that Dino Fury Season 2 will premiere on March 3rd? Yes. First, instead of on Telethon, yes. That means no ducking and dodging of spoilers. I'm going to be a very happy man, to be perfectly honest with you guys. Now, Canada has got to watch out for our spoilers at this point in time. So they're on the other foot, it seems like. Not for very long. Not for very long. But yeah, most definitely. And if anything, a lot sooner than I expected it to. It is funny. One of the things that I will mention that when it comes to Power Rangers, they haven't had the best marketing in the world, especially when it comes to Nickelodeon. But one of the things that I have always mentioned is while I don't necessarily expect Netflix promotion to get much like overly better than Netflix, I do think they will do a little bit of a better job than what Nickelodeon certainly did. Maybe not so much with Dino Fury, but I do think maybe going forward, they certainly will. But yeah, I think if anything, I just think Netflix is get seen by so many more, so that even though the marketing may not necessarily be as impactful as Nickelodeon's was, I do think the idea of it having more eyes to at least see it within that short amount of time might be a little bit more impactful in regards to word getting around. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't mind seeing them start promotion more like a month out instead of like, hey guys, guess what? In a week and a half, you're gonna get new episodes. Like, oh shit, a week and a half. Okay, I gotta get some shit done before I sit down and watch this. So yeah, I do think I am just happy that it's here a lot sooner than I expected. What did you like about the season 2 trailer? I loved all the new footage that it showed in regards to some of the new characters, like especially the character from Real Soldier with the big head and the eye. That I think he was I think he was Master Black. I think underneath that, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, I definitely want to see how it plays itself out, um, and how they utilize that storyline specifically. So some big things are coming. Some big things are coming. Could it be Amelia's parents, Amelia's father under there? I don't know. I have no idea. Do you think the new Power Ranger universe will acknowledge the original Rangers as the original Pink Ranger Amy Jo Johnson stated in her tweets? One can only hope. And that's just me. I know some people would rather not have any reference. I just don't need my MMPR OGs to be the focus, and I don't know if some people took Amy Jo Johnson's tweets to represent that, because her tweet did state the idea of the Power Ranger universe using the OGs, which would imply the idea of them having cameos or having bigger roles. And she does go on to say also the idea of acknowledging the OGs. I'm more open to the idea of acknowledging them, or at least referencing them from past events, whether that be briefly, that's fine. I just want there to be some connective tissues to certainly what came before, to just fill that old school nostalgia aspect that I have. That's all. AJ, um, what did I think of the trailer for season 2 of Dino Fury? Did you see the shot of Jared Turner, aka Void Knight, in his full human form without the armor? That's one of my favorite shots, honestly. That's one of my favorite shots out of that particular scene, just because it just looks so badass to me. I don't know why I think of Chris Hemsworth as Thor from the upcoming Love and Thunder, from all the photos that I've seen of him kind of grabbing that rock star 80s mentality. That's just what I get when I think of sort of Void Knight. And even the idea too of like Burt Selling's sort of composition for this, there are very much elements of like that 80s like keyboard sort of techno vibe. I don't remember what the name of that type of music is, but there definitely are elements to like 80s sci-fi, I feel like, in regards to some of the composition. So I love it. I think it's one of my favorite shots personally too. Isn't it cool that Dino Fury, which is our fourth dinosaur themed Power Ranger series, is also an alien themed with Zato, Ion, and Ravcon? Do you think it's weird, or does it make sense mixing dinosaurs and aliens together? Um, I really like it. It helps keep the series tied to the main universe for now and not contradict it with Dino Charge did when it came to. I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I kind of dig it too. I think it's a really good collaboration for sure. Ionis, what's up, Ionis? Appreciate you coming through. I know what the we know that the new Power Ranger universe will be on Netflix, but if let's say we had a movie going to theaters instead, do you think that the box office would still bomb, even if the reviews and reception is very positive? The box office will only bomb because the casual moviegoers just don't care. But the Power Rangers is a real franchise. You mentioned last week that if another movie does flop one more time, no other company would want to touch the franchise. Yeah, I would find it hard for another company to want to invest so much money in a brand that has had 2 to 3 strikes already against it, you know? Um, let me, speaking of which, let me go ahead and pull this up here real quick. Hold on. Rotten Tomatoes. What was the reception to the Power Ranger movie? 51%. 51%. Critics wise. What about audience? 65% audience. So this tells me half of the critics liked it, some didn't like it. I think if that critic score is like at 70, 80, I think if that audience score is like 80, 90, even then I think if anything like that, when I look at that, that explains the box office to me. That explains the box office to me. Um, like barely certified fresh among fans, enjoyable. Definitely recommend it, but barely enjoyable. Critics not so much. So it's kind of a lukewarm reception. So it kind of makes sense to me that the movie made as much money that it did. But I think if the critics, I think if the audience, if that stuff kind of gets bumped up into say the 80s, then I think we've got repeat value and people come back to see it again. And then we're talking completely differently about Power Rangers. Because then I do think it gets a sequel and it gets maybe a spinoff series or something like that. Um, if the new movie or TV is about Mighty Morphin, but has new teens taking the mantle of the MMPR suits, if time travel is a storyline, which we're hearing right now rumors that it's not any longer, don't you think it's still MMPR anyways? We know people are tired of MMPR, but always get the attention because even by Hasbro themselves. Is it still MMPR? Yes, it is still MMPR. But it is MMPR with a new shade of lipstick, with a new makeup job that's kind of presenting itself in a completely different format that might be even more appealing than I think people expected it to be. So that's why I tell people all the time that are tired of it being MMPR sort of being revisited. I think if it is MMPR inspired, um, has new teens taking on the mantle of the MMPR suits. Do you think it's still MMPR anyways? It is still MMPR, but I still look at it as a fresh coat of paint. I think just because it has the name Mighty Morphin, and just because it might take some homages, perhaps, and again, we don't even know, we're just speculating. But I think even if it were to take some homages suit wise to create MMPR, the MMPR suit, I still think the idea of new format and formula of storytelling, new characters, right? New Zords, new villains, all that stuff does impact how people will swallow this pill of it being MMPR again. I think if you can make it new, appealing, fresh, unique, despite some of the MMPR concepts that it takes and it renews upon, I definitely do think it's MMPR, but in a new coat of paint. That could be rather exciting and not the same old, same old. So, like when people say, oh, it's just going to be rehashing MMPR, I think that's doing it a disservice. I think that's being a little bit too close minded in the sense of not knowing what the potential certainly is. Now, if it was a copy and paste of MMPR, if we get another Zordon, let's get a group of teenagers with attitudes. I mean, if we're just recycling the same thing, then I can understand that. But if it's the idea of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with just the same name and maybe a suit that's similar, but everything else is different, well, yes, it is MMPR. It's kind of not at the same time, right? It's still a fresh new show. Just it's like taking a souped up classic car that everybody was fans of and giving it a brand new engine and making it something else, right? Like nobody's gonna say, "Oh, I don't want that car. That's a '60s car. Why do I want to rehash that again?" No, let me get behind the driver wheel and drive that thing. Let me see what that's all about. So I think we got to think outside the box a little bit in regards to how it can be MMPR but not and still be new and fresh and give us something different that MMPR never gave us. Ram Jam, what's up, Ram Jam? Good to see you, man. What are your thoughts on Amy Jo's tweets about the thing? Look, I mentioned it similar to at the top. Amy Jo Johnson is her own individual. She should certainly be respected just because of the impact that she has had in the past, at least. She has her own opinions, her own thoughts. Um, I don't have a big problem with her tweet, maybe because of the fact that there's a part of me, elements of the tweet I can fully support and get behind. Others, not so much. The way that she came across in regards to calling this concept and idea pretty dumb, I don't agree with. I think it's a really bold and risky decision and one that I'm completely supportive of Hasbro. But I think there's always more to the story, as she certainly says, right? One of those things of being more to the story was her tweet could have been in support of David Yost, which would have completely supportive of her being that supportive friend, right? I think everybody would want a friend to come out and speak out against maybe something that didn't necessarily go their friend's way and felt like they should have been given the opportunity, right? I think we've all done that in our point in time. So that's the reason why I probably am not upset with Amy Jo Johnson in regards to her comments, because I feel like it's more than understandable as to why she said the things that she said. But I also understand and see the other side of things in regards to I can see why fans would react the way that she is, because there are elements of hypocrisy in there. You've not been in the fandom for years. Within maybe like the past 5 or 6 years, you've decided to kind of jump on board once again. We've been asking for you to be at conventions and to partake in the fandom for such a long time. She hasn't decided to do that, but now she wants to come back. And now she's asking for OGs to be represented in Power Rangers. And it just feels like you don't have that voice to make those kind of demands anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like it just doesn't work that way. And so I can see the pushback. Again, I have no ill will towards Amy Jo Johnson whatsoever. She's got every right to feel the way that she does. But I think also if there are Power Ranger actors or anything like that that are looking at the fans saying they shouldn't act that way or respond that way, I think they should understand what the Power Ranger fandom has certainly been through as well in regards to that. So I see both sides. I definitely do see both sides, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. That could have been also just a rallying cry, right? To kind of get fan support, to kind of maybe help Hasbro or move some things around in Hasbro or whatever the case may be. But we'll see. I will say this: never say never, right? Just because Hasbro isn't focusing on the OGs right now doesn't mean that there's not a situation where they will reference them at some point in time, or that Hasbro is building to a more magnificent moment of reintroducing them, whether that be for a brief cameo or a role in something else down the line, right? So let's watch our words carefully when we hit that send button on the tweet. But I got no problem with her standing up for her boy. Like I do congratulate her on that for sure. What are your thoughts that season 2 will be on Netflix? Will be 44. Well, it's not going to be 44 episodes. It will be 22 episodes. Dino Fury as a whole will be 44 episodes. But I'm pumped. I'm pumped. And he says, "Are you excited for Don Brothers?" Very much so. With the exception of the CGI stuff, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the rest of this is executed. Nicole, how much more time I got? I got maybe like 15 minutes. I'll try and breeze through these. Hi there, Ranger fans. What's up, Nicole? Appreciate you certainly coming through. Always great to have another female Power Ranger fan joining our community here. I know it's tough out in these streets for you ladies, but I promise we will definitely treat you with a ton of respect around here at A Plus Morphinominal. So thank you very much for your questions, Nicole. If you could, please pick a female Ranger from each era of Power Rangers as your own team of Lady Rangers. Okay, so we got Saban, Neo Saban, Disney, and the Hasbro era. So if I got a team of 4 ladies, God damn it, why do you got to do this to me? Damn it, Nicole. You got to hit me with these difficult ask questions. So I guess my question would be, where would Saban era Power Rangers end? Is that Wild Force, or is that Lost Galaxy, or is that before? What's that category? I guess for me, Neo Saban. Oh, that's the Neo Saban series. So let me just do Neo Saban. Let me get Neo Saban out of the way since I have it up. You say female ranger from each. If it's a Neo Saban, oh god, I've got 2 female rangers. Because she doesn't get enough shine, give me Lauren. Give me Lauren from Samurai. I'll give her more shine. There's a part of me that was going to say Gia, but I've said Gia a lot. Give me Lauren from you didn't say Pink Ranger, you just said female Ranger from each era. So Saban, Neo Saban, give me Lauren. Current series of Hasbro. I'm going to put Beast Morphers in there. Give me Jacqueline Sislowski as Zoe. No, wait. Yeah. So Zoe and Lauren. Give me Jen from Time Force. So Jen from Time Force, Lauren from Samurai, Jacqueline from from Beast Morphers. Damn, this other one's difficult for me. I'm actually right now trying to figure out if I want, you know what? Because we've been talking about Amy Jo so much, give me Amy Jo. Give me Amy Jo. Give me Kimberly. Kimberly, Jen, Lauren, and Zoe. Those would be my 4. I was debating Cassie from Turbo and In Space, but I'm gonna go Kimberly. I'm gonna go Amy Jo. I'm gonna give Amy some love for sure. What did you think of the trailer of Dino Fury Season 2? Which Ranger from the team has made a great impression on you since the series started, and which you'd like to have more screen time focus? I would like to have more focus, a little bit more on Javi, if I could. Yes, Adam, your questions are there. I just have so many questions I'm trying to get through real quick, but your question is coming up shortly. I really enjoyed the trailer. I thought the trailer did everything that it was supposed to. Get my hype up, show me brand new Zords that we're going to be looking forward to, which I cannot wait to see this brand new pterodactyl. along with the kangaroo one that we've got, the Pacquiao Zord. I can't remember if that's what it was called or not, but whatever. The Zords look great. The new villains look incredible. Definitely have me enticed to kind of see how Void Knight as a character is going to grow in here. Probably the Void Knight and Santora stuff is really what I'm looking forward to, especially with Lord Zed, even though Lord Zed did not pop up in this whatsoever. So we'll see if he even comes back, but I do think that he will come back. If he doesn't, this just leads me to try and figure out where's Lord Zed at now. Like, where's his impact going to be felt at again? Because I don't think you bring back Lord Zed for a one-off. You know, I think you probably have much bigger plans for him somewhere down the line, whether that be end of Dino Fury, the upcoming revival for Hasbro, who certainly knows. But which character has made a great impression on me? Definitely Izzy. And if there's one that I would like to see more focus on, probably Javi. Um, yeah, probably a little Javi. Even though he's a little bit of a numbskull, it feels like sometimes he can be pretty dumb as bricks. Either Amelia or Javi, I would like to see a little bit more of next time around. But I feel like Amelia we get to see plenty of, so probably Javi. L'Oreal, did you see how they're using Madame Noir from Tokuja for Dino Fury? Yeah, and I'm super pumped about it. We have been talking about this before when we talked about the behind the scenes images from Simon Bennett's Instagram about the inclusion. And one of the things that we did emphasize, and we'll see if that in fact turns out to be the case, that I think we were kind of originally under the impression that Santora would go on to turn into the Precious character that we see in here. I'm kind of very much under the impression, and I mentioned this before, after seeing the Madame Noir with Tokuja costume, that I think that's who Santora is going to turn into. So I'm assuming that's the next transformation. Not to say that she doesn't have several, because I do think she probably also turns into that gigantic ass monster that we see attacking the Rangers also. Whether or not she's got another form after that, we'll definitely see. But a lot to enjoy from that alone. And it does make me wonder if there are going to be any other redesigns of Tokuja characters that might actually pop up. Um, Looks like I'll have to redesign Madame Noir, aka Madame Rogue, for our Imaginatrix adaptation. Huh? I mean, maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe you can get away with your own storytelling in regards to it. Skylar, what's up, Skylar? Appreciate you coming through. While Zenkaiger isn't your favorite Sentai series, what are some things you really like about the show that you want future Sentai seasons to borrow, or even Power Rangers if we were to get more adaptation for the 30th anniversary? Yeah, see, JB, I can't remember, JB, where Time Force comes in. I can't remember if that was a Disney era or not. If it is, if it isn't, if Time Force is Saban era, I still will go with Jen over Kimberly if that's the case. I can't remember where Time Force lands in the realm of timeline as far as like, was it a part of um Disney at that time? But if it's not, if it wasn't a part of Disney, then I will Datilla says Time Force is Saban era. Let me see. Hold on one second. Can I pull this up? Disney era Power Rangers. The idea of all the shows that were actually in this damn category. Oh, you're right. Yeah. Disney era, they got Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, Jungle Fury, and RPM. So sorry, Amy Joe. Tried to give you some love. I probably will. I'm still gonna go with Jen then for my Saban era Power Rangers. So Jen, Lauren, Zoe. Who do I go with for Disney seasons? Let's see here. For some reason, my mind always goes to Summer from RPM. My other my other suggestion was also uh I'm drawing a blank on Ninja Storm Blue, but I think she was in it. So I'll probably go with Summer, honestly. I'll probably go with Summer. Anyway, any aspects of Zenkaiger that was a favorite? Probably I don't mind some of the banter sometimes. Some of the banter works for me, some of it doesn't. Tori, thank you. Arcana, thank you. I probably will go with Summer. Tori was my second up, though. Tori was my second. All right, I'm gonna have to go here rather soon, so I'm gonna go ahead and sprint through some of these questions. I think first, for you, Scott, though, when it comes to Zenkaiger, even though it's not my favorite series, I really do like the action sequences. I think the cinematography works really well for Zenkaiger sometimes. Um, the focus on Stacy's storyline has been pretty cool. Costume designs, I'm actually a fan of. I know some people weren't necessarily the big fans of the robots. But I think for me, I kind of love the little side banter. Like sometimes it could be kind of chaotic and they run around and just all they talk over each other all the time. It can kind of be a little bit annoying. But I will say I do kind of dig the banter every once in a while. So that kind of stuff. Because sometimes it just feels like such natural, you know what I mean? All right. Let's see. Mackenzie found your channel through a video about the new upcoming movie trailers for Marvel. Oh, really? I'm glad that they recommended us. Then thank you very much, Mackenzie. Appreciate you coming through. Um, what did you think of the series of Power Rangers from the past couple of years and now the current series? Do you feel that both have revitalized the franchise again a little bit? I heard there's a new Universal franchise coming to streaming. Um, I do think Beast Morphers and Dino Fury have definitely injected some life and anticipation back into the franchise for sure. Um, I think it's perfect timing, honestly, for more people to get back into it. There are plenty of people that I have seen, especially when it comes to Dino Fury, that wasn't paying attention to it and now are paying attention to it. And I think anytime you get the opportunity to bring in new fans or bring in old fans that you had lost and are bringing back is always a great momentum swing and positive thing to certainly look towards. So I definitely agree that both seasons have revitalize the franchise a little bit, as you mentioned. But I do think, if anything, this will hopefully carry that momentum over into the new universe or franchise that you heard about. Because yes, while Power Rangers is moving to Netflix, Hasbro is rebooting and reinventing the Power Ranger franchise to have a brand new movie along with new series over on Netflix also. So thank you very much, Mackenzie, for that. I'm probably just going to tackle one question out of your guys' stuff just to wrap up here real quick. Doomsday. Let's see here. Do you find it funny that all the parents except Mr. Collins are proud of their kids for being Power Rangers? Yeah, that is pretty funny. I am kind of curious to see when there's going to be a. I would like to see one of the parents find out this season and maybe not be cool with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be pretty cool. Like I think the mayor originally from Beast Morphers, I don't think he was probably a big fan of the idea of him being a ranger at first, but I think once he realizes it, I think he realizes the importance of his job. I would like to see a parent that has some legit pushback though. I would love to see that. Adam Perea. Um, I think Amy Jo's tweet regarding Hasbro, if they don't acknowledge the Power Ranger MM part team, from my understanding, she's perhaps just teasing us about David Yost's potential series of Quantum Continuum. I think she's smart about what she wrote. This is social media. I understand that everyone I understand that everyone are tired of MMPR always being front and center. So I like to keep an open mind that this could be something very special. She still does celebrate Kimberly and the teams at cons and social media. And I'm sure she has, and I'm sure she has probably just rather recently for sure. But I agree with you. I do think it is in regards to maybe David Yost's potential series for Quantum Continuum. Maybe that means what she stated was things fell through, or maybe there is something special still yet to come. So I definitely agree with you, Adam, in regards to that. Kevin Richardson, what's up, Kevin? Were you still shocked and relieved how Lord Zed was reincarnated in season 1? Do you think the rumors might be true and he returns for season 2 and perhaps even lead into the next adaptation? That's one of the things that we kind of speculated, was that I personally would like to see Lord Zed not only come back for season 2, but also survive this season. Whether or not Dino Fury's team is much more powerful than what the MMPR team was at the time, considering that it literally took Lord Zed's powers and abilities to finally defeat Lord Zed in some capacity. The idea of one particular Dino Fury team being able to defeat him seems like a long shot, but who knows? The morphing grid maybe has changed over time. Powers have become more powerful. Maybe they can take Lord Zed out in one season. I personally would like to see Lord Zed escape this season alive and still have some sort of impact in the future, whether that be another adapted season, if we get one of those, or even plays an instrumental part in regards to the beginning of the Hasbro Power Ranger universe that they have. I would like to see him come back. And yes, I was very shocked and relieved to see that they did Lord Zed justice. It was definitely one of my biggest concerns, but they did right by him. When is Power Rangers Hasbro Fan First Friday? Says Brian Lee in his question. That's a good question too. I don't really know off the top of my head. They haven't made any announcements. I would assume maybe in March, because I believe that they mentioned the idea that March they were going to have maybe some new movie news for us to enjoy. So definitely after March 3rd, that's for sure. So I would assume maybe one of the Fridays in March will probably get some details. Hopefully, keeping my fingers crossed. We'll definitely see. All right, guys. With that out of the way, I gotta go. We definitely have to get out of here. I'm probably going to be running late to wherever I need to go, but that's more than fine, because you know why? I love talking Power Rangers with you guys each and every weekend. So thank you very much for your continued time spending time with me here 3 hours out of your afternoon, whether you come or go, ladies and gentlemen. Trust me when I say it's definitely appreciated. But thank you very much for everybody sharing their thoughts in regards to all these topics. Remember, it's just my A+ opinions, but at the end of the day, I always love knowing about yours. So definitely continue to let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below after this particular video airs. And we'll be back next week, guys, with a brand new episode. So join us every Saturday at noon Central Time for A+ Morphinominal. But other than that, guys, that's going to go ahead and do it for us here once again. We'll see you next week. But in the meantime, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.